All right, greetings everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. We are less than 24 hours from Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 finally being delivered to our homes. I am very, very excited. You all already know. But unfortunately, I can't play the game just yet. So I figured, you know what? We might as well look at some expertise from some people who have been able to play the game and see what they thought about it. What's up, Darmo? What's up, Jovi? How are you all doing? Hope everything is going well. So I actually have, wait, 1 second. What is this on Twitch? To earn drops. Get rewards by watching Slander Gaming while they're live in Kingdom Come Deliverance. Ends February 11th. Okay, interesting. Hermit, what's up, dude? How are you, man? What's up, mister? Yep. Mortismal Gaming is definitely one of the people whose review I would like to see. And I have not seen any reviews yet. So I'm going to be experiencing it with all of you. Definitely looking forward to it. Jovi, what's going on, man? Appreciate you dropping the 5 gifted subs, man. Thank you so much. Dan, Philip, Van, Cole, Garu, you're all members of the channel now. Congratulations. Thanks, Jovi. Appreciate it, dude. Happy launch eve. Happy launch eve indeed. Very, very excited for tomorrow. Should be great times, man. Should absolutely be great times. Yeah, I actually I know which specific reviews that I want to watch. So actually here, let me bring this up, share the screen with you all so we can talk through it. Ooh, where do I want to move this camera? You know what? I think it makes more sense down here while we're watching videos. And bring my chats and stuff back up. Here we go. Whoops, not that. That chat, this chat, and this. There we go. Okay. So I have a very specific order that I plan to do for these reviews. The first one that I want to watch is Fextralife because they've got a nice, quick, snappy 15-minute review, right? So we can go in, get a general idea of why people are so excited. Most of the reviews that most of the scores that I've seen have been really, really positive. So I'm sure this will give a nice overview of why that's the case. Then next up, I want to watch Eurogamer. There's been a lot of buzz on Twitter about this Eurogamer review. I think they gave the game a 60, and it was reviewed by a person who brought up the co-founder of Warhorse Studios. She brought up, I guess, his Gamergate history. And so some people feel like her review was tainted potentially by her views on his politics. So I'm curious to see her review for myself and determine when I play through the game if I feel the same way. It's kind of weird to me, honestly, to see all the criticism regarding this review when so many of these, I'm not seeing these criticisms from people who have actually played the game. You've got to play the game to actually know that our score is wrong. We've seen a whole bunch of games come out where they had high scores and everybody said it was amazing, and then people actually played it and they're like, this is trash. Cyberpunk had amazing scores when it came out, and its launch ended up being an absolute disaster. So I'm not at all of the opinion that just because a game gets a bunch of 90s automatically means that it's great. I have to play it for myself. So again, it's weird to see people try to come out and clown Eurogamer and say your review is trash. You all don't know that. You have to actually play it before you can say that. I was told streaming would be not. What's going on, Snow? This is not streaming of the game. It's watching reviews. The reviews come out today. Eurogamer's review was a travesty. Really? Eurogamer also gave BG3 a 60. Eurogamer gave Baldur's Gate 3 a 60? Whoa! How did they just... Yo, I got to look that up. Hold on. BG3 review. A critical success with critical failures. Well, they gave it 4 stars with critical failures. They gave it 4 stars. I would say 4 stars isn't a 60, but why does the title say that Baldur's Gate 3 had critical failures? The illusion of perfect freedom, and then it disappears. Whoa! So this was written by Ruth Cassidy. I wonder who wrote Catherine Castle. And she's a managing editor. She does Doom, Assassin's Creed. That's interesting. All right. All right. Yeah, it might be worth looking at the written version as well. We'll see. It might turn out this review is trash. What's up, Bard? How are you, dude? How are you, Joe? KCD 1 was 10 out of 10. I wouldn't put it 10 out of 10. I thoroughly enjoyed the experience, but I wouldn't put it 10 out of 10. I'm really, really glad that I waited until this year in January to play KCD 1. If I had played it 6 years ago with that ending, I'd have been pissed. I'd have been absolutely livid. But since KCD 2 was right around the corner, no big deal. What's up, Meyer? How are you, dude? Final Fantasy is more like an 80 than a 60. Exactly. Yeah, it's not that bad. BG3 might be one of the best games ever made. I think it is, most certainly. Eurogamer's review on Metacritic was a 60. Interesting. All right. Well, yeah. Baldur's Gate 3, I find it hard to fathom how you could give that game a 60 even if you don't like it. All right. But anyway, we're going to start with Fextralife, and then we're going to move to Eurogamer. These are both 15-minute reviews, so we'll be able to get to them relatively quickly. And then the first major review I want to watch is WolfHeartFPS. He already told me that this was kind of more of a free-form review. So he's like, there's some ranting I had to skip around. There are a lot of positives for him, but there are a lot of negatives as well. So I think that's going to be really, really interesting to see. And then I pretty much always watch Mortismo Gamers content. So this, of course, will be no exception. And it looks like some of you have already seen this review and concluded that he's awesome as well. So definitely looking forward to his perspective as usual. And then depending on what time it is and how I feel and all that kind of stuff, we might go ahead and watch Luke Steven. He's got a 50-minute monster review, and I'm always interested in hearing what Luke has to say. I think he does a great job of breaking down games and critiquing games. But we'll see how it is. Once we've watched these 4 reviews, I'll judge if I feel like there might be some things that Luke has to say that'll be, significantly poignant enough where I'll be like, you know what, I want to go ahead and watch this review as well. But that's the reviews I plan to watch. I don't know. Does Skill Up have a review for this? I didn't feel like I saw that. Stay there. Thanks for the $5 donation, dude. I can't trust reviews these days. A lot of people love Veilguard. It was the most tone-deaf written game I've ever experienced. Well, everybody's taste is different. So one person might like a game, but you're like, ugh, I can't stand it. Oh, they updated it to an 80. Really? That's weird. Maybe they got enough blowback where they're like, all right, you know what? Let me spin the block. You're right. Interesting. I wonder why Skill Up didn't review this game. This would seem like it would be right up his alley. You know what? Let me check one other thing. Did Skill Up review the first Kingdom Come? Sorry, Skill Up's another guy who I almost always check out. Oh, Analog Experience. Oh, right. I remember this review. Absolutely. He absolutely reviewed this. Did a great review, actually. So kind of weird it hasn't reviewed the second one. I wonder if he's on vacation or something like that. What's up, Johnny? How are you, dude? Tried KCD 1 3 times. Each time I'm like, why is everything so hard? It's not for everybody. It's absolutely not for everybody. What's up, Bell? I still question how Mortez was able to pop out his reviews. He's an absolute machine. I don't even try to keep up with him. I agree, Myra. He's not mortal. The timeline for the KCD2 makes no sense. It says the game is disappointing because you follow along your betters, aka the real historical figures. That's just the premise of the game. What's up, Quintech? It could make sense if you're used to games that put you in a power fantasy, right? Like, this is something Outcat spoke specifically about, that they prefer to put their gamers in a position where they're in positions of power and can really affect the world. Whereas that's not necessarily the experience that Kingdom Come Deliverance provides you. And some people might find that off-putting. So that actually does make sense to me. It'll be interesting to watch their perspective. Watch more because I'm watching tomorrow. Yep, I understand. What's up, Prodigal Dog? That's why I trust gamers on YouTube and not people with communications degrees working a 9 to 5 reviewing. What's up, Angry Age? How are you, dude? Yep, everybody's got a different perspective on Veilguard. Some people like it. What's up, Octavius? I'm an NBA fan. I think that trade is insane. And I think it's extremely damaging for Luka, to be honest with you. I think it says a lot about the way they saw him. They see him as a monumental talent who isn't going to put in the focus necessary to be a great star. And I think that's a terrible look for him. A terrible look for him. There are multiple reports out that he cried over this, that he had just purchased a $15 million home and that the experience has absolutely crushed him. You can't play games with certain people. He thought he could like muscle his way and just do whatever he want. Everybody ain't gonna go for that. Damas, is just about that time, man. What's up, Karakhan? How are you? More than like Veilguard, it was fun to watch. Exactly. But you see, a lot of people were surprised by that. I wasn't, because Morty was always up front that he felt Origins was overrated and that Inquisition was the best Dragon Age in the series. And I find that very consistent. A lot of people who really, really think highly of Veilguard also thought highly of Inquisition and felt like it was the best in the series. And most of them started Dragon Age with Inquisition. And so Inquisition kind of set the standard for how they view Dragon Age. Whereas if you started with Origins, the standard of how you view Dragon Age is very, very different. And therefore, you look at Inquisition and most certainly Veilguard in a very different manner. Very different manner. Yeah. He had a 45-minute review. Yeah, okay, CD1. Steven, appreciate the $2 donation. You're doing Wolf Hearts, right? Yep, he's the third video that I'm going to watch. What's up, Boo? Like, how are you? Yep, Cuban wasn't part of those discussions. I did not watch the Royal Rumble. You know, I'm a hardcore Attitude Era guy. This new era of wrestling just doesn't appeal to me as much. I don't know anything about the stories. And so, but for whatever reason, it seems like in the last couple of years, most especially with Triple H taking over, WWE has become even more of a cultural icon type of status than it ever has before. So I feel like I gotta watch it. I did see the clips of Speed getting the absolute dog shit speared out of him. That looked like it hurt so bad. It looked like he got obliterated. Look at me in the finals. You don't do that without effort. That's true. That's true. But he's also missed a ton of games this year. And the fact of the matter is the regular season games matter just as much as the playoffs from the standpoint of the ownerships or from ownership who wants fans to come to the games and sit their butts in the seat. Fans are paying for those season tickets to see Luka. So if you feel like he's taking off 20, 30, 40 games because he's out of shape, and he's not disciplined enough about his conditioning, that matters to you, even if he's getting you to the finals. It's not like a Tim Duncan and the Spurs type of situation where when Tim Duncan was at the end of his rope, they would sit him for, 40 games or whatever, and they didn't care because all they really wanted was for him to be available for the playoffs. Luka is not in that situation. He's expected to carry that franchise and bring in a certain amount of revenue. He can't skirt around that. No, there's no way. Pepsi, what's up, dude? How are you? Well, it started with Origins and was disappointed in every game since. There are a lot of Dragon Age players who are like that. I like the whole series, but I get why some people are disappointed. Morty is often a great guy. I agree. Morty does oftentimes have a different opinion. That's why I like watching his stuff. LT, what's up, man? I'm pumped as well, dude. I will be right here on the channel tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. on the dot, ready to go ahead and play this game without a shadow of a doubt. Only me not hyping with KCD2. Only games just, I'm enjoying Final Fantasy Rebirth so much now. I'm waiting for all the games to come out. When all the games are out on PC, I'm going to play them back to back to back because I've never played Final Fantasy 7 before. So all of that stuff is going to be completely new to me. I am, Johnny. I've actually taken off 2 days. So I've got all day Tuesday and Wednesday off. So I might have to interrupt the stream briefly on Tuesday to pick up my daughter, take her to swimming. And then on Wednesday, pick up my daughter and take her to karate. But otherwise, I plan to have back-to-back 10-hour stream days. can play KCD2 at midnight, but nope, you're going to have to wait. Zaya would never. Anyone else remember the good old days of lining up for midnight release? I do. I remember lining up for Mass Effect at GameStop. It was an amazing experience. What's up, Fami? How are you, dude? We're still going to stay at watch, but it's 4 a.m. Ooh, no problem, man. Have a good night. Take care, dude. Take care. What's up, John Doe? What kind of play style you have for KCD2? I'm going to play KCD2 in a different way than I did KCD1. First and foremost, my intention, we don't know how the playthrough is going to go, but my intention is that I am not going to mod out the saves. I am going to use the actual save system that Warhorse intended, because I've had so much feedback that, oh, it's really not that bad. No, you make too much of a big deal of it, yada, yada, yada. So I'm like, you know what? Let me actually go through a whole playthrough so I can speak about this in a way that makes a little bit more sense. That comes from the standpoint of someone who actually finished the game. Other than that, I plan to spend a lot more time on alchemy. I feel like I didn't use alchemy enough in my first one. I want to poison a lot more of my weapons. I want to use more potions during fights to give myself the upper hand. I'm curious how the perk system is going to work out. I used the Perkaholic mod for my first playthrough that gave me mods with my mace that helped me with all heavy weapons. If there's a perk system similar to that, I might end up leveling multiple weapons. But if the weapons are all completely segmented, then I'm probably just going to go heavy sword all the way, starting with sword and shield and then leading up to two-handed sword. Shady, what's going on, man? Appreciate you signing up with me over on Prime, dude. Hope you're having a good day. See if there will be an unlimited save mod on day one. Probably not on day one, but maybe by day 2 or 3. Ahmed did a great video a few months ago about midnight release, very nostalgic. Oh, really? I might have to watch that. Yeah, I missed them a little bit, to be honest with you. Really getting wrestling NBA talk at the same time. We are, Steven. You never know what kind of stream you're going to be checking in for. I'm glad for Alchemy you could control the cauldron more. Yeah, Alchemy, it just looks like they put a lot more effort into it. And by the end, I realized there were some really cool potions I could have been using that I didn't. And so just all the way around, it makes me want to lean into that system more. So I plan to lean all the way into crafting. I'm going to be blacksmithing. Of course, I was already using the crafting kits. I might sharpen my weapons on a regular basis, which is something I never did in KCD1, but I know there are some perks specifically for that. It just always, I hate having to do things that I actually have to sit down and do separately, you know? Like fighting happens in the course of the game. Riding your horse, hunting, building up your relationship with your dog. All that can happen in the course of doing regular quests. But to me, it just feels like when I'm sharpening my weapon, everything stops. The whole game stops when I have to do what felt like kind of a monotonous task. But I think it might feel a little bit different in KCD1 because there's this whole element of you're becoming a true blacksmith, you know? So you're finding your own metals, you're finding your own materials, you're crafting your own weapons, and then you're sharpening them yourself. That to me comes off as, hey, I'm carrying on my father's legacy. That could feel different. That could feel different. We'll see though. All right, let's go ahead and get into this review and see how it is. First up on the list is Fextralife. Let's see what they had to say. Steven, thanks for the $5 donation, dude. I really like KCD combat and perks. I just want magic swords and dragons. You're not getting that in KCD, but maybe in another game. What's up, Shakes? You cannot import your save. Sometimes they'll give you the ability to say what you did in the previous game, but that's it. You're not going to be able to import a game.
I fucked everything up.
In this Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 video, I'm going to be talking about my hands-on time with the game. I completed it a couple of weeks ago. I also finished...
He finished it a couple of weeks ago? Didn't they provide the keys a couple of weeks ago? Oh, you know what? No. I think they provided the keys like a month ago, right? Like they gave gamers a lot of time to go through it, now that I think about it. Shady, Kingdom Come is worth it depending on the type of player you are. Like, Kingdom Come appeals to certain types of players. Everybody's not going to get it, right? Like, to be honest with you, the whole time when I looked at the market, I was like, I'm not going to get it. So I'm not even going to bother buying it because I know I'm not going to get it. And then I played it and I was like, I get it. This works for me, right? But I didn't feel that way looking at the trailers for it. The only reason I tried it is because of the story trailers for KCD2, where I was like, you know what? The narrative seems so strong. I'm interested in this. Let me try it out. So, you know, it may or may not be good for you.
Almost every single side quest or task in the game, so I have a pretty good idea how this game plays.
Ooh,
It
nice
clocked
flash.
in for me at about 100 hours, almost exactly on the nose, so I think you're probably going to get somewhere between 80 to 120 hours out of this game, depending on how you play it. But let's get into what this game is and what I like about it. Spoiler alert, this is one of the best games I have played in a very long time.
Nice.
So first, let's talk about the story and
somebody's
setting
about
of
to
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. This is the
have a
strongest
bad day.
aspect of the game. It was the strongest aspect of the original title as well. No surprise there. The game is a direct sequel to the first game. If you haven't played that game, there is a recap at the beginning that sort of goes through the events of that game. But I don't think it's absolutely necessary to have played the first game to play this one. And I think if you haven't played that, you can play this just fine. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 picks up after the events of the first title in 1400 Bohemia.
LT, Punch the Pope is Moonlight. Moonlight is making a joke. She's about as lefty and as about woke games as you could possibly be.
With Henry's quest for revenge and an attempt to drive Sigismund out of Hungary and the events that follow. And the countryside is once again one of the main attractions of this title. It's so beautiful. Riding around the 1400s Bohemia, seeing the forests and the rivers and the fields. It's just kind of surreal, honestly. You can spend a lot of time just doing that, fucking off and doing whatever you want. And a lot of times you're not even like doing a quest objective. You're just riding around and just seeing like what you can do. And
that's awesome.
It's amazing how much immersion and how cathartic it is just doing that in this game. So talking about the story of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 without getting into any spoilers at all, I really enjoyed it. It's a very exciting and action-packed story. It made me angry. It nearly made me cry once, but mostly it made me laugh a lot. I laughed a lot in this game. Warhorse has a phenomenal sense of storytelling and a wicked sense of humor, to say the least. There are some scenes in this game that are just hilarious, just like the first game. If you played that one, you know what I'm talking about. And you can expect, you know, a dozen, 2 dozen moments like that in this game where you're just looking at your screen and you're laughing because it's so funny. And the main story of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is another big highlight of this title. And it's so compelling that when you're playing it, you just kind of accidentally keep going down the main storyline. And before you know it, you've done like 3 or 4 quests. Your whole day is gone.
Oh, no. Another quest in mines. Oh, I do not miss that from the first game. Oh, my soul hurts just looking at this.
Quests, and you're like, oh crap, I probably ought to do some of those before I finish this game. And I think there's a lot of players out there that are going to be playing this title that may not even see a lot of the side quests before they finish the main quest because it is just so compelling and pulls you in like a good book or something like that. It's one of those things that there's a point in the story where you can't stop playing the game. Like, it's just, you have to find out what happened next. You want to be a part of it. You want to see the events unfold.
My understanding is you can't just eat from pots anymore. That if you eat from somebody else's pot, it's basically considered stealing, which makes significantly more sense. I mean, I really appreciated that in the first game. I never went hunting. I never cared about food because I always just took a bite from other people's pots as I walked by, but it really didn't make any sense. So it's good that they've refined hunting and keeping your food longer and all that at the same time as making you unable to take food from other people. The children yearn for the mines. Stop it. Stop it. Like a whole underground thing, kind of like Tears of the Kingdom of Elden Ring. I never played Elden Ring, but that sounds terrible. Right, with every late I can, just like the first game. That's my plan, LT, for sure. There are multiple fort seasons in the game. Yep, I'm looking forward to it, Soup.
And
the communal soup.
Now, that's not to say there aren't some very excellent side quests as well, because there are some absolutely phenomenal side quests in this game. Most of them are rife with humor including like setting up a brothel. You get to explore a mine where there's a
Oh,
strange
wow.
creature living inside that's haunting the locals. And you also get to figure out who's murdering all the local young women in Kutenberg, Jack the Ripper style. So there's some very fun things that you can do in the side quests as well. And I would urge you that even if you're really enjoying the main quest, make sure that you do some of the side quests as well, because there are some bangers in there. There are, however, many filler quests and tasks as well in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Like the
Some of them
first
can
one.
feel quite mundane and repetitive by the end. Some of them are really long without much payoff or much interest.
Ooh.
And honestly, when I was playing, I almost wish that I had a list of like which quests I should do and which quests I should skip, because I'd say
Right.
probably like a third or somewhere in there of the quests in this game are just filler that you don't really need to do. But the main quest and a bunch of the side quests are absolutely fantastic. So moving on.
So it was the same way in the first game, but the first game had in your journal you had main quests, side quests, and activities. And so I spent about 30, 40 hours doing activities until I realized I don't care about any of this, especially since the sequel's coming up. So I was like, let me just stop all this, because even though it appears to have story content, it really doesn't. This is just fluff. It's just stuff to do. Whereas the side quests were what has the real meat. So I wonder if they're kind of saying that the journal for this game is not split up in the same way, and you can't tell the difference between side quests and activities. If that's the case, that's really unfortunate. That's really unfortunate, because I can easily see that putting me in a position where I do these quests and I feel like I'm wasting my time. If a hobo broke my house, ate my pot, I would throw hands. I agree. When you hunt too much, the huntsman will come and investigate you. Yeah, even if you cook the meat, this homeless gentleman, he can shower only, and he's laying a bum in my apartment. I already told him he can't stay. Oh, snaps, no. If it's in another feed them, it doesn't count as cheating on Theresa. That's my perspective, dog. Yep, I'm going to be a drunk, LT, for sure. I'm going to be a drunk for sure. Boy, it's clearly the cat you want to play. Where does Kingdom Come sit in terms of the Crusades? Is it like 4th, 8th Crusade periods? It's in the 1400s. I don't know what Crusade period that sits in, though. This guy looks like Red Dead Redemption. What's up, Corn? From the standpoint of the level of realism and how the game kind of makes you have to do everything, yeah, it's a lot like Red Dead Redemption 2. From what I played of it. I only played like 10 hours of Red Dead Redemption 2. But from what I experienced, yes. Having some fluff is good for the immersion of long-time players, but not know what it is could be an issue. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's cool. If I know I'm going to go out hunting anyway, being able to hunt and complete a quest at the same time is cool. If I'm going to play dice anyway, having a quest that's about playing dice, hey, might as well knock out two birds with one stone. But to mix it all up together where I can't tell whether or not this is a quest that has real story content that I'm going to enjoy, or if it's just some fluff activity that you put in for me to do, that's dicey.
A little bit to the gameplay. Let's get into how this game plays. The main gameplay is very similar to the first game. If you've seen any gameplay footage leading up to the reviews, you'd probably
Moonlight,
know
how
this,
you know it's more
except
fun? I thought
quests
you
to
never
help
played
disrupt
Kingdom Come,
Sigismund's
right?
plans, while also helping the locals with everyday occurrences. Well, maybe
Drunk
not
stuff, I'll go the
everyday
opposite way.
occurrences, since there's a war
Makes
going
sense,
on. You get
LT.
the idea. A lot of these are things that would happen anyway, but there are also a lot of things that are affected by the war, as you see people in the landscape trying to survive, and you're trying to help them get through this very tough time in Bohemia. The combat of this title remains...
Ooh, I like the way that shield looks. Look at that. The logo on the armor is but the shield looks fantastic.
a sore point in my estimation.
Uh-oh.
A lot of people are going to wonder if the combat remains a sore point. And the combat of this title remains a sore point in my estimation. A lot of people are going to wonder if the combat in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is an improved version of
What's up, Cento? Why can't you play on PS5?
the first game. It feels very similar to me. You kind of end up relying on master strikes predominantly if you're using like a longsword like I did in my playthrough. Or you just mash R1, frankly, or right click on your mouse. There isn't a lot of strategy. The hitboxes don't seem to work a lot of the time. A lot of times, there's a lot of combos in this game that you're supposed to be able to pull off with your weapons, but most of the time you just get blocked and interrupted, so you can't pull them off. I'm not even sure what the point of a combo system is, since most of the time you don't end up doing one anyway. And honestly, by the end of the game, I was just mashing left click as fast as I could on every enemy that I saw. except maybe when I was outnumbered like 5-1. And then I would just wait and do master strikes and I would win every fight. So there isn't a lot to combat in this game. Combat is not the main focus of this game. You shouldn't be playing it for the combat. But I was hoping for some improvement, and it doesn't feel like it's gotten better really at all. Henry has a lot of progression.
Why didn't I guess he didn't wait long enough for him to get closer. That's actually kind of not. That's kind of disappointing to hear because I just assumed combat would be significantly better. And honestly, hitboxes were an area where I was dissatisfied with Kingdom Come. Like, there were multiple fights, especially towards the end of the game, where I just wanted to rush in and start wailing on enemies. And not only were the hitboxes off, but it was a weird thing as well where almost the game wouldn't let you hit an enemy until the enemy had pulled out their weapon. And so all of that just felt off. It felt very odd. And I figured that'd all be cleaned up for this game. It's kind of weird to hear that combat might potentially not be improved at all, and yet it's still getting all these 9.5s and 10s across the board. Because my understanding is, even though he says combat is not the main point of the game, which wasn't the main point of Kingdom Come, from everything I've heard, combat is much more prevalent in this game compared to the original. So, yeesh. What's up, Greasy? Yeah, it's not out yet. It's not out until tomorrow. What's up, Tim? Never played Kingdom Come, but RDR has guns. This is true. 14 was around the Ottomans or starting to head to Eastern Europe would be a good DLC. Okay. Skill issue. Nah, the Janky combat has a certain charm for me. It had a charm for me in the first one, but I'm still expecting it to be improved in this one. We'll see. Really won't know until we play it. Agree. What's up, Scott? How are you, man? Always good to see you too, dude. What's up, Pope? You get an enemy without their weapon drawn. You talking about the upcoming one or the first one? Combat is improved from the last? I certainly hope so. I'm looking forward to seeing how some of the other reviewers feel about it.
Progression in this game. When I did our first impressions video a few weeks ago, I mentioned that it feels like Henry really sucks at stuff. There's an event that happens at the beginning of the game that kind of sets him back from his progress of what he made in the first game that sort of lore-wise explains why he's set back, and he definitely sucks for a little bit at the beginning, but I will say by the end of the game, he is just handing out ass-kickings left and right. He is absolutely devastating by the end of the game, and I would say probably after the first 20 to 30 hours of the game, you really start feeling Henry get a lot stronger through the progression system, which is basically based on the actions that you do in the game. As you use certain weapons, as you do certain activities, you gain proficiency in them, not unlike something like Oblivion or Skyrim or something like that. And you definitely feel Henry getting stronger throughout the game, so I really like that. The quests are kind of the main activity that you're going to be doing when you aren't exploring. A lot of them have multiple outcomes and can be solved many different ways. You can fail them if you do things like maybe murder somebody in one of the quests that you shouldn't have.
That's interesting.
That happened to me a few times. But there's a lot of things that you can do. For instance, like if you're tasked with helping someone and then you go talk to someone else and they say, no, this person's really the bad guy, you kind of often get put in a situation where you have to decide who you want to help. And I do enjoy that, as it makes you really think about what you're doing in a quest rather than just following the quest line and having the decisions made for you. And the crime system in the game is absolutely amazing. The fact that you can steal from people, murder people, get away with it, or get caught. I really immerse myself in this a lot when at the beginning of the game, just kind of seeing how far I could push it. Had a lot of fun doing that. Kind of got it out of my system and then started playing the game a lot more traditionally after that. But I really enjoy the fact that it's there for people who want to, use it to their advantage. I definitely lockpicked a lot. I definitely, killed the random person here and there, and just so I could see what loot they had. It can give you a leg up early on when you need equipment and gold. So I really like that system in this game. I think it has a lot of fun to it. And something...
The town crier? That man's just doing his job. You murked the town crier in the middle of the city? Damn! I was about to go on a whole spill and be like, yeah, I plan to lockpick everything. I'm probably going to get branded. I might even end up getting hanged because I plan to do a lot of crimes. I don't plan to kill no criers in the middle of the city. What is going on? Damn. Is it worth it? 100%. What's up, Taxi? How are you, dude? It's worth 100% source. I played it Yep. I was telling Shady, it depends on the type of gamer you are. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I definitely felt like it was awesome. You call the police. That's awesome, Snow. I'm glad you were able to get him out the house. Nice power fantasies. You progress. Sounds like it, LT. So you murder Hobo in his first playthrough. Seems like it. Yeah, what's going on, Grim?
I'll just comment on before I wrap up the gameplay section is that Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 have this attempt at realism and immersion that borders repetitiveness and mundane. That is to say that, you know, when you go to repair your weapon, you have to repair it. You know, when you go to craft something, you have to craft it. And, you know, when you're going on a quest to do something like, and there's an objective like carry sacks of grain, you have to carry them and you're slow. Things like this really add to the immersion of the game. It makes you feel like you're actually doing the things that would be happening during this time period or what is expected of you from the quest objectives. But sometimes it's a bit of a double-edged sword where it feels like, why am I carrying sacks for 5 minutes? Like I had, you know, an hour to play this and I spent 5 of my minutes just carrying sacks really slowly, which can be kind of boring. But I will say, for the most part, I think they nailed this. Like, it feels more immersive and real than it does repetitive most of the time. There are definitely some points in the game where that repetitiveness and mundaneness can creep in. And I think it's going to vary a little bit from player to player, how much of that they enjoy and how much of that they dislike. Moving along to audio, visual, and design.
That's fair. I mean, I felt the same way with the first one. Most of the stuff that people found mundane, I was totally cool with. Like, I'm totally cool with the progression system. There's only a couple of systems where I was like, this is too much for me. I already mentioned I didn't like sharpening my weapons. I almost never bothered with that because sitting there sharpening back and forth, it just seemed like such a waste of time. And alchemy. I found alchemy very mundane. So I think I mentioned before, instead of you all watching me have to build that up, I spent like 2-3 hours outside of the stream doing it over and over and over again because I just felt like the system wasn't very good. Alchemy looked significantly more entertaining and engrossing in the sequel. And so I'm really hoping that that holds up. Carno, what's up, man? Appreciate you resubscribing with me over on Twitch, dude. 4 months in. That's awesome, dude. Hope you're having a good day. Not a lot. Does this come out at midnight or different times for everyone? Different times for everyone. I'm in Chicago. It's 10 a.m. Central Time for me. KCD 2 is the first game to have more detail on food items than Monster Hunter. There's an achievement for the first KCD that you could get if you finish the game without killing anything. Yeah, I saw that. I have no idea how it's possible either. I wouldn't even try. What's up, Gene? Being able to one-shot everything in the first game turned me off and I stopped playing, but I love the world. You were one-shotting it with the martial strikes? Yeah, a lot of people don't like that system. What's up, Rodney? Looks like this could go south really fast with committing a crime. Yeah, it's one of the things I'm looking forward to with the game. You can literally be hung. Like, if you get branded for crimes you commit, and then you do another serious crime, like murder somebody, while you have the brand and you get caught, they'll just hang you. They're like, all right, clearly you're not going to learn your lesson. Now, they also mentioned with they added same-sex relationships in this game. And they mentioned that these relationships are going to be handled and dealt with in the way they would at this time. And they mentioned like there could be harsh consequences for that. I'm curious to find out, is it possible like you could be in that type of relationship, get caught, and end up getting hung? That would be insane. That would be absolutely insane. LT, what's going on, man? Appreciate the 5 gifted subs, dude. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate the support. You can't ask for realism, then get mad at realism. I 100% agree, which is why I don't nitpick at it in Kingdom Come. I know what I'm getting. I know exactly what I'm getting. From the looks of it, the game might be significantly bigger by the end of the year. Yeah, Quintech, like it's not coming out with a hardcore mode. All that kind of stuff is coming out later. It comes out 11 p.m. New York, right? Yeah, because it's 10 a.m. Central Standard Time for me. So I don't know. It might be 11 p.m. I'm not sure. What's up, Joe? Appreciate you following me over on Twitch, dude. We're playing Shamu and had that mundane while working a job using a forklift. You didn't know I was in Chicago, Cunningham? You ain't seen me with the Bears jerseys on? I might have to put on some Bears gear again tomorrow. Gonna push the wanted system. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to do, Lee. I want to push the wanted system for sure. Are you playing at 10 a.m. Central? I'll be playing at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time tomorrow morning for sure. Think of playing the first one in hardcore. Oh, no. No. I am never playing this game in hardcore. Looking at a map and not seeing my place on the map? Absolutely not. I'm straight. Super straight. Want to preload. Yeah, I've already got the preload in place. Those strikes are a real life thing. They're trying to duplicate them in the game, which is hard in HEMA, which is what the combat is based on. You would never swing for someone's weapon. Got you. Wincano, what's going on? How are you? Joe, what's up, man? Appreciate you signing up with me over on Twitch, dude. Thank you so much, man. Yeah, hardcore is not available yet, EV. It'll be available later on this year. Carno, thank you for the 500 bits, man. Appreciate you, dude.
And the voice.
John Doe, did you really just say that? It's not that bad in hardcore? Stop it. Stop it. I don't know how many people told me, oh man, hardcore is so awesome. I got lost for hours in the woods. Like, I just couldn't figure out where I was, and I had to memorize where these landmarks were. Had to learn how to look at the stars and figure out based on the stars where the city was. And I'm like, yeah, that's that bullshit. I'm not with it at all. That's that bullshit. I'm not doing it. Ain't no way. Ain't no way. What up, Nikki? How are you? We slandered started with hardcore. Nah. No. I am so straight. Like, dude said that in the chat, and you could feel the glee coming from the chat. Like, oh man, I had to use the stars to find my way. I'm like, why? Why is this entertainment? Get good? No. Stay bad. Ain't no way. Ain't no
Acting
way.
in Kingdom Come Deliverance is some of the best in the industry. It's absolutely fantastic. It's what makes the game so good. Even with the good storytelling and the good story, if the voice acting was bad, it would absolutely ruin this game. But since it's so good, you want to listen to every character speak. There are so many voice lines in this game. I heard it was more than Baldur's Gate 3, actually, like breaking the record.
That's not confirmed yet. They're trying to get the Guinness World Record. They've applied for it. They claim it's more than Baldur's Gate 3. That has not been confirmed yet.
Which is incredible. And I really, really enjoy it. I do wish maybe they had a little bit more variety in terms of voice actors. They seem to use the same ones a lot. I can sort of understand that given how many
Bethesda's formula,
there are and how many characters there are. But I wish they'd had maybe 20 to 25% more voice actors in this game, because you do notice that like some of the main characters of the title do have the same voice, and it's a bit weird sometimes.
Oh, I hate that. I hate when developers do that. Like, I understand some of the like BioWare games used to be like that, right? They would have a few people who basically voiced all of the smaller NPCs you meet throughout the game. But the big time people that you're supposed to interact with, they all had unique voices. Or they were such fantastic voice actors that they did voice other big characters, but they completely changed their voice to the point that it didn't resemble whatever other main character they were playing. I hate when I play a game and there's this big time character who has the exact same voice as a shopkeeper that I meet out in the world. Like, to me, that's kind of off-putting. Just got to have a little bit of cozy. And Mac markers are cozy. Exactly, Staxon. Exactly. Like, come on now. Get too little time after work to be getting lost in virtual forest. We're going to pay someone to play hardcore for him. I'm sure, Davey. I've been lost and it wasn't enough. I'm not trying to get lost in the game, too. Same here, Cunningham. Same here. Hardcore was only doable for me after playing the game 4 times and memorizing locations fairly good. That makes sense. Will you be using the crossbow or bow? I'm going to play around with both and see which one I like more. Angry Age, I believe this would be considered double A. Double A. Commander Shepard did the voice for the Vorcha. Really? See, he did a great job. I never realized that. I never knew that. What's up, Joel? The Elder Scrolls Oblivion is a classic 2 actors cast in the whole game title. Yep, I vaguely remember that. Do you already have your list of reviews you're going to watch? Yep. First we're doing Fextralife, then we're doing Eurogamer, then we're doing WolfHeart, then we're doing Matizzle Gaming, and then we're going to do Luke Stevens.
You could kiss my ass.
Uh-oh.
Count yourself lucky you had your pal here. Otherwise, we'd
Mind
have
your own
dragged you out of
business.
town with our teeth.
Dummheit.
You would
Uh-oh,
lose your
reputation
teeth
lost.
blitzschnell and end up on your arse.
Stop this shit, all of you. I'm sure you all have better things to do. So off you go.
Facial animations and body language are stiff here and there. It looks kind of like, you know, it's not synced or buggy in some places. And then in other places, it's absolutely phenomenal. Looks completely natural. The scenes look great. So it's kind of a mixed bag here and there. And sometimes you get an outstanding,
Ooh.
scene in this regard. And sometimes
unfortunate.
just a bit janky. It doesn't ruin the overall feeling of the game, but it isn't consistent for sure. The music of the game is absolutely mind-blowingly good. It's so
Really?
fantastic. The music.
I gotta be honest with you. I'm sure some people in the chat are not gonna like me saying this. I wasn't all that impressed with the music in the first game. It wasn't all that. Like, people be in the chat all the time, be like, man, this music is amazing. And I'll be just playing the game anyway. So I was like, yeah, it's interesting, it's cool. But it's like, there's no tracks from Kingdom Come. And I was like, man, this is really memorable. It sits with me. I come back to this time and time again. It'll be interesting to see if I feel differently about Kingdom Come 2. Frank, I haven't seen a AAA title from a AAA developer in years. I mean, Veilguard was AAA, for what it's worth. What about ACG? You know, I consider ACG. We might look at him too. No ESO review. He was the best for guides for KCD1 and obviously all the Elder Scrolls games. You know, I never go to ESO for reviews. I only go to him for guides. I agree with you. He does great guides. I don't know if he does great reviews. Bolivia did have Wonder Woman as one of the repeated voices. Really? Granted, she was the wife of the ZeniMax's CEO, but still cool. Nice.
Music of this. I was lucky enough to hear the orchestra that does the music for this.
Fighting
game live in
words,
Prague.
Texan.
That was amazing. And the way they've done the music at certain parts in the main story and side quests, it just gives you goosebumps. You get goosebumps when you're watching it, like you're watching some epic movie, and that scene comes on and like the hairs on.
Nikki, you might be right. So Nikki says the music hits harder when you don't have chat in your screen, more immersed. Just saying, you're probably right. I mean, it is a very, very different experience playing the game on your own as opposed to having the chat with you. To be honest, one of my major regrets as a content creator that I waffle on this a little bit, but on the whole, I think I regret it. When Baldur's Gate 3 came out, for whatever reason, the first day it came out, I wasn't going to be able to stream it. And so I just played it like I would a fan. And I enjoyed those first few hours of playing it so immensely that I couldn't break myself out of it. And I was like, no, I got to play this whole game on my own. I don't want to have a chat. I don't want to have to present. I don't want to have to talk to other people who I experience. I don't want any of that. I just want to be able to lay back and play it, right? And consequently, I got my content out regarding Baldur's Gate 3 so much later than everybody else, and it kind of also stunted some of my creativity on it, and I feel like I just completely wasted that opportunity to give my channel more exposure, but I really wanted to just be able to sit down and experience the game as a fan, and I did that, but in the process, I've always felt like I didn't do right by my channel by doing that. So never making that mistake again. Gave you the beat of the barcode to play while playing KCD2. Nothing like hip hop and medieval instruments. Yeah, I watched that. It was awesome. They spent 4 years on this music. There's 200 separate. Really? There's 200 separate pieces of music? Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. Are you going to play BG3 again after the new patch that adds new classes? Not only am I going to play it, I'm going to do a live stream co-op playthrough. I plan to get the mod that will bring all 12 party members into the game, and whoever wants to just bounce in and out, come on through. We're going to do an honor mode playthrough, but I'm going to probably mod it so that there's no way to fail and just let people run one round and just have a whole bunch of crazy fun. So absolutely, I plan to do another Baldur's Gate 3 live playthrough.
On your arms just stand up that will happen to you multiple times in this game, and a lot of that is because of the music and the right music at the right moment.
Oh my. Ugh. Can you smell that too?
It stinks like something died here.
Damn.
Performance-wise, the game ran rather smoothly for me, averaging around, I'd say, 90 to 100 FPS.
Joe, I
on
don't know.
30
I don't think there's a specific launch date for the BG3 patch yet. You heard what I said, Moonlight.
80 Ti with a 12900K processor. It dipped below 60 FPS only once. It was a nighttime scene where there are lots of fire torches out, and I think the fire effects kind of slowed the game down for a second. But other than that, I had 0 dips below 60 FPS in about 100 hours of gameplay, which is pretty incredible considering how much open world there is to this game, and especially since you have the area of Kutenberg that has like hundreds and hundreds of NPCs in it, and I had no problems in that area either. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, though, does have a fair number of bugs. I will say it is much less than the original title.
Nice.
Most were unimpactful on my gameplay as a whole, so they didn't really like stop me from playing. There were the rare occasion where like a quest bugged out and didn't work, but like 99% of the time when that happened, just reloading from my last save fixed it. So I didn't have anything game breaking. I was able to complete every single quest that I did. Sometimes I just had to reload once. I'd say it was less than a handful over 100 hours, so that's pretty good. But nonetheless, there are some bugs here. I do expect a lot of these to be fixed. I expect there to be a day one patch where they improve some of these things. I was playing almost a month before the game came out.
So we're going to get a more
sure
stable version of the game than he got.
I also had 2 crashes in the 100 hours or so that I played, which I think is
It's
more
not a
than
big deal.
fine. Like, it didn't really ruin or affect my gameplay in any way. When it comes to the replay,
I'm really disappointed in this footage, the way combat is being approached. Like, it really lines up with what he said, where he just pew over and over again. Like, I was looking forward to when they said, hey, Master Strikes can only be used with swords. Okay, fine. You need to be focusing more on combos. But if you pull those combos off properly, the game is going to reward you. It's going to feel nice, yada, yada, yada. I'm not getting that at all from this footage. It really does seem like he's just that, and that's it, which is disappointing to say the least. What's up, dog? How are you, man? Pre-ordered a while ago on PS5. Hope it turns out well. Me too. I'm looking forward to it, dude, for sure. Why do you say you shit at BG3, H? Rather remove the slow motion in combat?
ability of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, there is some replayability to be had in the game, as there are important decisions that impact outcomes. But it's really hard to say like how much actually changes without seeing everything. It feels like to me that I can't quite get a clear understanding of like what makes certain outcomes happen. And it seems like a lot of the big choices, the most impactful ones, happen near the end of the game. So you could just make a case for replaying like the last 10 hours or so of your first playthrough. And you could probably get most of the replay value from a decision standpoint out of that. There's little to no build variety in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, since you have enough perk points if you max out every stat and every skill to get every perk.
Wow, it was not the case in KCD 1. You only got perks at specific skill levels, and so you had to carefully select which perks you wanted to have. That's interesting.
And combat isn't really a motivating factor in replaying this game because the combat isn't very good at all. So you're not going to like replay it to play a different build style of combat because it's basically the same no matter what you do. So that's not really a reason to replay it. I don't really expect too many people to replay this game more than once. There are, of course, hardcore players out there that'll keep playing it for a long time, but I expect...
So I know there's people who disagree, right? In fact, this is a major disagreement I had with people about Baldur's Gate 3. In my opinion, Baldur's Gate 3 only holds up for about 2 playthroughs because it doesn't have any good evil options. And so to me, you can't like play it a completely different way and get a completely different experience all multiple times, right? As opposed to a game like Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, where you can play 7 different times and have a very, very different experience each and every time. And so because of that, I kind of felt like those perfect 10s and 9.5s BG3 kept getting weren't really legit. And I'm kind of feeling the same way here. I haven't played it yet, so I don't know how I feel about it. But if what Cass says here holds up, that this game really doesn't have much replay value and the combat is mediocre and the builds, there's no real variety in builds from player to player.
We stand upon the precipice.
That's all a knock against the game, and I think it knocks it out of that perfect 10, 9.5 range, at least from the stat where I'm sitting right now without having actually played it, you know? But maybe there's some other aspects of the game that make it just sound amazing or make the experience much more amazing. Exactly. BG3 is a linear experience. What's up, Sugarwire? Texas, appreciate you following me over on Twitch, dude. Remember you saying a while ago there aren't a lot of good vampire RPGs. I recently started playing Vampire, and if you haven't played it, I can only recommend it to you. Florian, what's up, dude? I heard a lot of good things about Vampire, but the problem was when it released, it was extremely buggy and janky. And I strongly dislike playing buggy games when they're fully released. If the game is buggy in beta mode, I'm good with that because I understand, hey, this is what I'm getting, et cetera, et cetera. But in a fully released game, having bugs that prevent me from completing quests or significantly impact my overall playthrough, it's a pet peeve of mine. It's a pet peeve of mine. And so that always kind of made me avoid that game. And I don't know if there are mods now that really clean up that experience. And the reason for that is because I'm a completionist. I'm the type that if there's a quest in my journal, I gotta finish it. I gotta finish it. So to have a game with a bunch of bugs where it's bugging out my quest or making it significantly cumbersome to finish out these quests, it irks me as a gamer. And so I purposefully stay away from those types of experiences. You never played a CRPG? You never played Baldur's Gate 3? Oh, you played Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 is a CRPG. Those 2 playthroughs right there. Yeah, I did. I played Dark Urge and Will. BG3 is much better after the Evil Endings update. Yeah, that's what I heard. Does now with update 7. Nice. Vampire, I cannot recommend. Why do you not recommend Vampire? But hopefully Bloodlines of Masquerade 2 comes out well. I don't have high hopes. To me, Bloodlines 2 looks like it's just going to be a fighting game. Excessive compulsive. That's me when it comes to games. What's up, Bugbear? How are you? Elric, what's up, dude? Just watch your reviews, man. You haven't missed anything. We're close to the end of the first one.
Most people play one really solid, lengthy, explore everything type playthrough and be very satisfied with that. And in terms of the price point, the game is priced just fine for what you're receiving. It's definitely going to be one of the best.
Why are you blackpilled on KCD2?
Best titles in 2025, particularly in the RPG space. I think it's well worth the price, even on day one, even with some bugs here and there. Absolutely think you're getting what you pay for here.
That's excellent.
Final thoughts. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is a no-brainer for those looking for complete immersion in a medieval fantasy and who enjoy good storytelling and a dialogue with a lot of curse
What's up,
words.
Mike? Most of the reviews are 90, 95, so
I
yeah.
couldn't stop playing the game once I reached a certain point, and it was
This
like
is
a
great,
good book
Rick.
that I just couldn't put down because I had to see what happens next. And frankly, I haven't felt that way about a game since Baldur's Gate 3.
Joe, my understanding is the best way to play Baldur's Gate 3 is as a good aligned Dark Urge. I have never done that playthrough, though.
If you're wondering if Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is worth it, it absolutely is. Warhorse has hit another absolute home run here with this game. It'll be interesting to see what comes next for Warhorse. They've already announced a roadmap for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 over the course of the year, adding other features to the game.
That's Fextralife. You liked it. Now, let's watch Eurogamer, who did not like it, and see how we feel about their perspective. I'm going to officially buy BG3 the end of the month. Nice, no? Hopefully we'll get some time playing it together when I do my live stream playthrough, live stream co-op playthrough. Otherwise, the avowed price tag wasn't so high. Yeah, it's rough, Florian, for sure. Substantial review after some gameplay. I've been burnt 2 months before. I understand. Have an interview for a great new job tomorrow. Yo! Good luck, One Up Dog. I really hope you get it, dude. And my Dungeons, No Dragons. Yeah, that's a great moniker. That's a great moniker. Yeah, Eurogamer didn't like it. Let's see why.
Direct sequels in games are peculiar, aren't they? As narrative contrivances go for honouring all the choices you made and characters you built in the first part of the story, there are usually 2 schools of thought on how to keep building on that foundation effectively. One is the Star Wars Jedi Survivor route, where developers rummage even deeper into their bag of tricks and somehow emerge with even wilder skills and abilities, that make the first game's power curve look like training wheels. But then you get games like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which strip their heroes right down to their pants and have them flee for their lives into the hills. Literally. Picking up immediately after the events of the first game, Blacksmith turned Squire Henry and his idiot Lord-in-Chief Hans Capon have trotted off to Trusky to broker peace with the enemies of King Wenceslaus. Alas, your trumpeted arrival is cut short when Capon's lusty appetites get the better of him and he goes swimming in the nearby pond to chase some nearby giggling women. Unfortunately for the rest of their travelling party, this is the exact moment a band of local bandits decide to attack and murder everyone, causing Henry and Capon to flee with nothing but their soggy bottoms intact. A daft and cringe.
Yeah, you noticed that, right, Jovi? Right off the bat, she makes it clear she's not a fan of Hans. Damn. Never finished BG3. Put 32 hours in it, just lost interest. Oh, KCD is different. At the pre-year KCD2, I did 92 hours in 3 weeks. Oh, wow. That's crazy. Yeah, Tex said I do my channel while being a husband and a father and having a full-time job. It's hard being a gamer, man. Blacksmith turned Squire. Yep. Henry was never an actual Smith. He was training to be one. Rob, what's going on, man? Appreciate the sub, dude. She's absolutely wearing her bias on her sleeve right from the start. This game is definitely not for her.
Cringe-worthy setup in equal measure.
Kayla, what's going on? I can't complain. How are you doing? Just sitting up watching Kingdom Come reviews until the game finally comes out.
But it nevertheless does an effective job of doubling the stakes for this sequel.
Kayla, did you see Corinne Bush supposedly has a new job with the Wizard of the Coast studio? Key something, some sort of key dev? They're working on a AAA RPG in the Dungeons & Dragons world that is, at this time, unannounced. Now, my powers of deduction say it's Baldur's Gate 4. Which would piss off so many people. The content that I'm going to get out of that, I can't wait. And I cannot wait to play whatever it is that she's working on. Oh, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be absolutely awesome. Yeah, absolutely good for her. Yeah, 12 hours until release, Rob. Almost at it.
Not only are you in hostile and unfamiliar territory here, but you've also got to claw back all the trust and status you lost, so everything you worked for in the first game isn't completely for naught. Strangely, though, the game doesn't seem all that bothered about what those earlier events actually were most of the time. After picking one of 3 classes to determine your starting crop of strengths and perk points, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 effectively acts as a clean slate to what's come before. Some of Henry's previous escapades are occasionally referred to in passing when chatting idly with NPCs, but there's no long-drawn character sheet building or decision porting like in Mass Effect or The Witcher, and your
I never felt like BioWare got enough credit for how amazing a job they did of making you feel like you were in the same world across multiple games and what you did previously mattered. Like, to me, no other developer really captured that. CDPR tried to capture that with the Witcher series, but the problem is they retconned or completely ignored major decisions that you made. Like, BioWare might retcon or ignore smaller things that you did, but the major things that you did carried over and they mattered. Witcher, the CDPR, it was not consistent on that level, and so it didn't do the same thing. And I could already tell that was the experience we were going to have with Kingdom Come Deliverance. Once they said you're not going to be able to transfer your save in, I already knew they wanted to ignore everything before and just say, hey, this is a brand new journey, and anybody who hadn't played the first game, you'll be good. You could just move forward. Iron, what's up, man? Appreciate you following me over on Twitch. And then they stopped. This is true. This is true. Did in Witcher 1. The stuff you did in Witcher 1 hardly mattered in Witcher 3. Exactly, Contraband. And honestly, even Witcher 1 and Witcher 2, you could end Witcher 1 telling Trish to kick rocks, that you wanted nothing to do with her and that you had no interest in having a relationship with her. In Witcher 2, you would still start the game waking up in a bed directly next to Trish, as if nothing had happened. Like, no respect for the decisions that the player had made. The alternative romance from Witcher 1 does not show up in Witcher 2 at all. Even if you completely turned away from Trish and decided, hey, she's my girl, Shea, whatever her name is, the medic, you could have completely decided, this is my girl, I prefer her. She doesn't show up again until Witcher 3, and I think she shows up in like a DLC. She wasn't even in the base game. So it's like you had the player spend 15 hours with this chick developing this relationship, and they're feeling like, hey, this is Geralt's permanent girl, and then you just basically retconned that and ignored it. No consistency. No consistency. BioWare never does that. Never. Old BioWare that was making those games, they never did that to the player. And I always really, really appreciated that. And that's honestly another level where I'm expecting KCD to kind of let me down. A lot of people really like Theresa from the original Kingdom Come Deliverance. There's no word about her being in this game whatsoever. It seems absolutely geared towards you having completely different romances, which is kind of wild. It's kind of wild considering how light that character was. She had a whole DLC, etc., etc. We'll see.
Answers have little bearing on anything at all. For new players, it's refreshing not to have a whole game's worth of baggage bearing down on you in these moments. Then again, with zero accompanying context on what any of these names and places mean, it can't help but alienate at the same time, making you feel adrift in a sea of missing backstory.
So I'm very interested to see if I'll feel the same way, because that's definitely a problem in these type of games where they ignore what happened before, but at the same time move forward as if you have that same context, and it creates a very negative experience for the player. So I'm very interested I'm going to be focusing on, for those first 5 to 10 hours, how would I feel if I had never played Kingdom Come Deliverance? Would I be able to easily pick this up? Because I feel like all the reviewers we're hearing from right now, they played the last game, right? And I read some of this review. I haven't seen this video, but I read some of it. And one of the things that she talked about was how the game communicates information. It's always through menus, right? This big old screen comes up with all this information, or you have to scroll through multiple menus in order to get the information that you want. A lot of players don't like that. A lot of players are like, you should be delivering this information in the actual game, through me playing the game. I shouldn't have to dig through menus in order to understand your systems. Kingdom Come Deliverance was absolutely that way, and honestly, I'm a little surprised that they didn't figure out a better way to do this for the second one. Mass Effect is peak outside of Andromeda. I agree. If it's BG4, then it might be Origins versus Dragon Age 2, where Origins is amazing and Love the 2 is It's going to be very hard to beat BG3 or even live up to it. Yeah, to me, they should do something completely different. They're going to have to, still a role-playing game, but you shouldn't try to recreate that all over again. Like, BG3 is magic that probably can't be repeated. There's a Larian formula that no other dev studio can recreate. So you should go in a completely different direction. Try to give something that people really enjoy, but in a completely different style. Geralt didn't even carry over scars from Witcher 1 into 3. Basically. I prefer a game not taking previous decisions into consideration than being streamlined and on rails just to do so. Yep, I agree. I understand completely. I do not disagree at all. Theresa and Henry should have been married in the first DLC. Theresa did say she didn't mind you seeing other girls as long as you're safe. When did she say that? She never said that to me. Combat Witcher 3 was a joke. Death March is like an ignorable challenge. I never played Death March. I can't comment. Should the game will include encyclopedia like in the first game, right? Yeah. Supposedly it has an amazing codex that it has very, very well-drawn art. But once again, you're forcing me to go into the menu and dig through a bunch of menus and screens when I should be able to play the game and get the backstory and the information in that manner, in a way that's digestible for the player. Start designing Mass Effect 1 in a way that every decision doesn't change much, so you can import everything to Mass Effect 2 without issues. That's a bigger problem. That is true, but I didn't feel that way. It does. There is less variety in the endings that you can get. Like, there's only 1 or 2 different endings in Mass Effect 1 because they have to transfer it over. But there are a lot of different situations where you can make choices in Mass Effect. Frankly, more than a lot of other RPGs. All Cyberpunk's new games have nods from 1. Sure, playing as V once again would be, in my view. They got to choose a different character than V, but absolutely there should be nods to the original game. I don't think we're ever going to get Jade Empire 2. Hell, it looks like we're barely going to get Mass Effect 5. That's still in contention. Larry Seeker for you is Finn Vic. I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I'm fine with rules being laid out in menus for turn-based games, but yeah, gotta teach access systems by doing. That's the way a lot of people feel. Think about it will be coming to an end. It is very possible, Mace. We'll see. Larry See's being a family company with a AAA budget, that's almost unheard of. That too. That certainly helps. But Sven Vic seems like just a singular type of developer. There's nobody else. There's nobody else who makes games like Larian. And to be frank with you, part of the reason I was upset about what's happening with BioWare is I feel like there's nobody else that makes games like BioWare. But it just is what it is. I wouldn't be surprised seeing them try Planescape 2 as the default setting is assumed to be multiversal in the new edition. Is Planescape considered to be D&D though? I don't think they'd be able to do it.
Likewise, for returning players
Are you talking about Larian?
hoping for more of a through line with their version of Henry, the throwaway nature of these moments may come across as something of a disappointment. Still, for all the lumps and bumps in its plot, the meat of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is still very much business as usual. This is an RPG that thrusts you out into the lush green fields and forests.
Is this music from Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 or Witcher 3? This sounds like Witcher 3 music to me. Which, the question becomes, why are you using Witcher 3 music on Kingdom Come Deliverance 2? If it is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 music, it's giving me strong Witcher 3 vibes, which is probably a good thing because Witcher 3 has one of the most amazing soundtracks in gaming history, in my personal opinion.
Forests of 15th century Bohemia.
Planescape is D&D? I never knew that. Planescape is D&D. Did not know that at all. Wow. Sven is a hell of a man too. He wore his love for BG on his sleeve throughout the whole game. Absolutely.
And leaves you to make of it what you will. Your skills improve slowly by doing them repeatedly over time, and careful attention must be paid to your appearance, cleanliness, and attitude if you're going to ingratiate yourself with the locals. It's play acting of the highest order, and exploiting Henry's chameleon-like ability to become all things to almost all people forms the backbone of this dense and sprawling RPG experience. The main quest will take you on a tale of deceit and intrigue that only gets grander and more ambitious as it goes on, but the game's huge stable of side quests shouldn't be overlooked. These are often just as substantial as those on the critical path, weaving complex tales across its 2 enormous playable regions where their lettered objective markers regularly reach down into the P's and Q's. They are twisty, lengthy yarns that feel pleasingly elastic in how you're able to approach them. Possibly not quite to the same extent as Baldur's Gate 3 perhaps, but the way its reactive and accommodating script handles the cumulative snowballing effect of your actions does get pretty darn close. Early on, for example, I undertook a series of exhaustive quests from the local miller to help me get into a high-profile wedding feast. When I managed to get to the wedding another way, leaving the miller's quest unfinished, the game didn't close off that avenue of the story or automatically fail it. Instead, when I returned to the miller post-wedding, the script immediately bounced back and shifted gears to accurately reflect where I was in the story at that point, all without missing a beat. The same goes for when you stumble on important quest items unexpectedly ahead of time, or come to solutions slightly differently to how the quest might have intended.
There's a Gith in Planescape Torment? Yo, that's crazy. I did not know. I never played Planescape Torment. So I never realized that. Wow. One of the games in history, in my opinion. Mine too. You didn't enjoy Witcher 1 or 2? Why did you dislike Witcher 2? Same with Bethesda. Trust accounts has been getting weaker and weaker. One of the biggest things I've seen taken for these interviews, even when compared to BG3, it still holds up well. Seems like it. We'll see when we play it.
Sometimes cleverness can fall flat, such as the time I decided to steal a supposedly magical amulet instead of winning it fair and square from its Romani owner. The recipient, the owner's daughter, implied that theft was the only way forward, but on my return with the stolen amulet in hand, only then did she bemoan that its magic comes from being handed over willingly, so stealing it robbed it of all its power. In that moment, I felt annoyed and misled, and I left grumbling to myself how I should have just endured the slightly arduous-sounding, multi-stage wager challenge proposed by her mother instead. My fault for wanting to cut corners, perhaps, but a path I thought the game was pushing me down nevertheless. Thankfully, the impact of these sorts of quests is fairly minor, but others are much more important, almost to the point of being practically essential if you're ever truly going to get to grips with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2's many and often very fiddly systems. The way to that wedding feast, for example, is presented as an either-or optional choice between two multi-stage side quests, the Miller's Path teaching you the basics of stealth and thievery, while an alternate path sees you enter the employ of another blacksmith, who takes you through crafting and other vital survival skills, such as hunting and tracking with a dash of combat. That you could feasibly miss either of these quest paths in the 10 or so hours it takes you to even step foot in the wedding is so willfully ill-conceived, though its tutorializing methods more generally do leave a lot to be desired elsewhere. Rather than teach you its systems by showing, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 relies on teaching you via a bevy of dense text menus, some of which are no more enlightening by the time you finish reading them than you were at the start. You can at least refer back to them at any time should you need a refresher, but that still doesn't excuse its poor explanation of how dice match turns work.
I agree in KCD 1. I don't know if it was his way in KCD 2, but there are definitely some times in KCD 1 where I was like, you're giving me this big old screen full of all sorts of information, and there should have been a way within the game, within the flow of the game, to provide this tutorial. I definitely felt that way about dice. It was a good little bit before I understood. I won't say a good little bit. It was a couple of games before I understood, okay, this is what's going on with dice. This is how it's supposed to work. I did not feel like the game handled tutorials well. And it seems like the second game is kind of continuing on with that, which is rough. Non-gamer review. What's up, doctor? He seemed salty. In the beginning, it definitely seemed like she was salty for sure. Seems like a review targeted towards people playing games for a couple of relaxing, no pressure hours every day or so. KCD is more than that. I agree, and yet I don't agree. This is obviously not a game that is meant to hold your hand. This is obviously not a game that's meant to coddle you, right? But if not providing tutorials on this system was really about forcing the player to figure it out during the course of the game, you wouldn't have those menus in there. They wouldn't let you press start and read a bunch of words to figure out what's going on. The menus are in there because they understand I need to explain this to the player. And instead of finding a way within the game to explain this to the player, they have these big old screen-wide menus with a ton of information that you're expected to stop and read through. I think it's fair to be critical of that. If it's supposed to be immersive, then those menus shouldn't be in there. Then you shouldn't even have those menus in there shouldn't be any sort of tutorial. Hey, go in the world and figure it out. You'll stumble around and figure it out. The fact that you could go into the menu and pull that information up says that getting this information is not part of what's supposed to make the game immersive. The NCAA team does have opportunity now, though. It's getting a lot of attention. Some fans will be lost due to steeper learning curve. But if that happens while the Desert here in the Vision, that works for me and the core audience. Right. This is definitely a game that's going to appeal to that core audience that ranked KCD 1 10 out of 10. But just because that's true does not mean that there are not some things that you could be legitimately critical about when it comes to this game. And I think well, that's the thing, Pope. If you have to teach the player how to play a dice game, why can't you do that within the game? Why is it you can't convince me that it's more immersive for the player to have to go into a menu. Like, to me, dice should be taught by Hans. The game should start with Hans, and be like, hey, let's play a game of dice. Here's the rules. I know you suck at this, yada, yada, yada. Something like that. Not, oh, you want to learn how to play dice? Boom. Here's a big old sheet of a whole bunch of information that you have to sit and sift through before you can play. Like, if we're going to talk about immersion, if you're sitting down with a guy to play dice, he doesn't hand you the rule book for the game, right? If you're sitting down with a friend or even a competitor to play dice, the competitor explains to you how to play, right? And so I feel like it's systems like that that should be explained within the context of the game. The tutorial can be there to go back and reference after the game is actually explained it to you, if for whatever reason you still don't get it. But Kingdom Come doesn't work like that. Kingdom Come forces you into the menu and forces you to basically sift through all this information to understand those systems. That's not about immersion. That's about the way the Warhorse has chosen to handle that content, and I think it's legitimate to say that's problematic. Right, David says, I never understood how to play dice in KCD 1. I was determined, so I learned it. And then slowly I learned, oh, okay, I get these special dice. And oh, this is how these special dice work. It was like a constant process through that game, picking up the different layers. Yes, that's a fair, but don't info dump in my face. Right, a game with someone who teaches you would be cool. Exactly, that's my whole point. I feel like that's the point she's making here. Like, instead of just the info dump, this is something that you should have figured out within the course of the game, how to communicate it to the player. Similar Witcher 3 Gwent. Exactly. There's no massive info dump with Gwent. CDPR figured out how to explain to you a very, very complicated game that has a lot of different systems, that has a lot of layers to its mechanics. They showed you within the course of the game how to play it in a way where I never referenced the menu. I never referenced the instructions for how to play it. Like, once they took me through it, I was like, okay, I'm good. Everything else I can figure out. Javaned, is the game worth buying? Did you enjoy KCD 1? If that's the case, I would absolutely say KCD 2 is the type of game that you're going to enjoy. Did you play KCD 1 for 2 hours and decide it was quickly trash and throw it away and never went back to it? KCD 2 is probably not going to make a believer out of you. Maybe it will, but probably not. I'm going to be live streaming this game tomorrow at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. You can watch me play and get an idea of if you actually want to play it. Gwent is not taught with menus, at least not what I remember. And even if it was taught with menus, it ain't menus like Kingdom Come Deliverance. Kingdom Come Deliverance has screen-wide information everywhere, 4 pages worth of information that you can only get in this tutorial. There's nothing in the game that actually explains the information that's in that tutorial. So you have no choice but to sift through all of them. Gwent doesn't have anything like that. No. What's up, Deacon? How are you, man?
We stand upon the precipice of change.
I don't mind that, pro. Though I didn't bother with the table games. Totally could get behind there being an old dude, lady in the tavern that won't wake you to the game and teaches you. But overall, I did be a tosser to it. Absolutely, Deacon. We're having a conversation about this Eurogamer review where she made a point about how the game comes up with these splash pages full of tutorial information. And she's like, why am I being forced to sit through that? Why isn't there something in the game that's conveying this information instead? I agree. I love when KCD has you learn by doing. It just needs to do that more. What's up, Danka? How are you? based on what I'm seeing here, right? I haven't played the game yet, so all of this might be off. We'll see. Even Pazak was taught in the game. Exactly, Mace. Exactly. I think it was tips on screen while you play. That might be true, Doctor. It's been a while since I played Witcher.
For example, or the hours it took just to figure out how to equip my damn torch properly when night falls. Even if you do feel like you've got your arms around a particular system, there's still a lot that's left to chance through various skill checks. Of course, rolling invisible dice on trying to be knowledgeable, intimidating, domineering, or simply winning people over with your charming and charismatic personality is all part and parcel of an RPG like this, and there's a genuine thrill in seeing if you're successful. Hell, even when responses don't go your way, there's a surprising wit and humour to be found in its script that usually helps soften the blow of defeat.
I love that. I love that. One of the things I really, really enjoyed about Baldur's Gate 3, failing a check doesn't mean you're going to have a horrible time. There are some games where if you fail a check, you're just like, all right, let me reload because this is going to be terrible. In Baldur's Gate 3, and it seems like hopefully in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, fail a check, something still interesting is going to happen where you're cool with just moving forward and letting the chips fall where they may. Definitely like that, like seeing that in game systems. But not some terrible affront to suggest it wouldn't be an improvement. Not everyone has an interest in teaching you, but you certainly should have someone somewhere who rolls slow with you to get the hang of it. Exactly. Best mini games within games was Final Fantasy X ball game thing. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. For me, Gwent and whatever the card game was for Final Fantasy VIII. Those are my two favorite mini games. Like me, I didn't like KCD 1, so I'm seeing how KCD 2 is. I knew I never liked 1, so why would I buy a sequel right away? Exactly. And from everything I've heard, KCD 2 is not going to make you a believer. It's absolutely a better game, better graphics, better perks, better story, more content, bigger map, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, at a fundamental basic level, it's still KCD 1. So if you didn't like KCD 1, it's doubtful KCD 2 is going to make you a believer. It's doubtful. You said Wolfheart plays KCD 2 for its reactivity. I don't know about Jussart. We're going to watch Wolfheart's review in a bit. You did not kiss the goblin's foot? How dare you? BG3 failures are sometimes way better, funnier than passing the check. Exactly. I love that for it. What's up, Keiko? How are you? Looks like KCD 2 will be a good contender for Game of the Year. That's what it's looking like. Strong early contender. So they said about learning something from someone who does actually just want to beat you. Yep, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. What up, dog? Take care, man. Good to see you, dude. I hope you check out the streams sometime tomorrow. Triple Triad. Thanks, Elric. Yeah, Triple Triad was an incredible game. To be honest with you, this is probably sacrilege to say, but I kind of put Triple Triad over Gwent. Like, I think Triple Triad is like tops for me. But, the only thing that makes me hesitate on that is that you only had one game of Triple Triad. We've had Gwent in multiple games at this point. Obviously, it got fully refined in Witcher 3. But it was cool in Witcher 1 how you played against all people at all levels. Like, at the end of Witcher 1, I think you could play against the king. And he was like the #1 Gwent player, which was insane.
But when multiple skill checks are in play during any one dialogue option, I do wish there was a smidge more information available to interpret what its various numbers actually mean. Is 8 speech better than 4 dread or 2 charisma, for example? Not always, as it turns out, as your overall persuasion stat is governed by several other interlocking stats and skills, the effects of which are sometimes hard to grasp in any given moment. Other factors are even subtler, such as having the wherewithal to take notice of your opponent's social standing, say, and weighing it up silently in your head against your own. Cynically, it all feels a bit like nebulous guesswork, though, again, perhaps this is more a symptom of trying to game the system than truly meet it on its own terms. I have no doubt that these silent, unknowable mind games will be deeply enjoyable for some, but it's also the exact same recipe that's likely to cause frustration in others. It doesn't help that throughout the early stages of the game, your stats often aren't good enough to succeed at literally anything. You are constantly failing left, right, and centre, and only over time, through repeated headbutts against the wall of progression, do you gradually, finally gain the smallest of footholds. To say it's
A little bit the way KCD1 was. Again, it's not an experience for everybody. It works for me. I'm good with it. See, I never liked KCD1, but I slandered it and said it was trash because it was a great game, but it's just not for me. Yep, sometimes you like watching something more than you like playing it as well. Like, I don't play games like Diablo 4 or Path of Exile, but I'll still watch WolfHeart play it, and it's fun because he's actually good at it and understands it. Eurogamer hates Vavra. Why you say that, Dan? What's this lady on about? Triple Triad is also... Triple Triads in Final Fantasy 14? Seriously? Yo! Wow. Yeah, Gwent was in Witcher 1, and I don't remember... I'm pretty sure Witcher 2 as well. Yeah, it was. Stop you from aggressively pursuing skills before progress in the story, though. Just a difference in game type. Yeah, exactly. Like, what she's talking about is the experience I had because I chose not to power game it. I was like, nah, I'm just going to walk out in the world and let the chips fall where they may. So I ended up getting my ass beat a bunch of times. But, hey, I knew what I signed up for. You know, so I just go along with it. Whereas, again, this experience is just not for everybody. So, you know, it seems like it might not have been for her. Join Star Wars Outlaws as the best implemented minigame played in years. I heard good things about the minigame there, Octavius. At some point, I might give Outlaws a try. I really do love Star Wars. Tell you right now, actual player skill can let you tackle far more difficult encounters than simply leveling up. Getting more powerful gear. So that part doesn't affect me as much. Exactly. Get good.
This grind isn't quite accurate, but it does take considerable effort and determination to muster the will to continue sometimes. This friction won't be for everyone, and deciding whether you're able to embrace that tension will ultimately make or break the game for you. I'm right on the edge of this particular fence myself, at a slower, less hurried pace than the handful of weeks we've been afforded for review this time round. I reckon there's a version of me that actually...
Every other screen is bathed in this light red because she keeps getting her ass beat. I'm like, that's just kind of funny to me.
quite likes this more abrasive style of RPG. There aren't many games that push back on the player as much as Kingdom Come does, and I do admire that about it. There is much to be said about how hands-off it is. While your ultimate destinations are always marked up clearly on your map and compass bar, I love that you really have to look and listen to what characters are saying to discern a mission's finer details or seek out particular objects.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm looking forward to that. They said that there's no indication now about where you get quests. You kind of just have to listen to pick up quests. And I'm like, that could be an immersive, great experience. But the problem is, in the first game at least, it never took notes. Like, you almost never looked in the journal and saw, okay, these were notes on something that was said. So I'm like, are you expected to be writing all this stuff down? How are you supposed to retain all that? You know, that's my concern, especially considering how wide open this game is. But we'll see. We'll see how it works in the process of playing it. Final Fantasy 14, it's a full-out game. You can either duel people. You can kill bosses to get cards off that boss. Really? Wow. Yep, seemed like you had a good time, Elric. I'm glad to hear it, man. There's even a mount for Triple Triad where you collect them all and you get a card to fly around on. That's insane. What's up, Dan? How are you, dude? Argo, what's up, man? It's going well, man. Just watching reviews. Not sure why reviewers that don't like these type of games end up reviewing them. I looked at some of the other reviews that she had done, and it seems like she's the RPG person for Eurogamer, so that might be why.
This is a game without detective vision or licks of yellow paint everywhere, and it's refreshing to pay such close attention to its gorgeous and detailed world. It shows that both exterior and interior spaces can still have distinct visual identities without needing to flag things up with not so subtle signposts all the time, and the result is a level of immersion that few other action RPGs are able to match. There is so much to see and do here, and it's the kind of game that should be savoured over many, many months. That said, no amount of time will ever make the interminably bad hang that is Hans Capon any more palatable to me. This boorish buffoon is easily the game at its most detestable. A lewd shrimp of a public school posh boy whose childish throw his toys out the pram approach to any kind of obstacle made me wish I could stick him with the pointy end as soon as possible, or let him hang when given the chance, just like I could with the rest of its murderable cast. But you're stuck with this turd of a human for the long haul, unfortunately, which put as much strain on my will to carry on as the game's obtuse stat systems. It's not...
Damn! She hates Hans? Yo! That's crazy. Hey, look. Oh, I can't comment. I don't know if she's wrong. I haven't played this game yet. So I only know Hans from that KCD1. I assume these comments are not based on Hans from KCD1. They're based on Hans from KCD2. So, hey, maybe everything she said is legit, but damn. Damn. She let him have it. That's crazy. Yo, Hans is the man. What's up, Double Destruction? I never played the first game or anything like that, but I love the setting time, and I have a lot of time. Do you think I will have a hard time? This is the type of game where you got to take your time with it. Absolutely. So you got to give yourself a chance to get adjusted and learn it. But if you do that, I thoroughly enjoyed the first one, and I expect to enjoy the second one as well. What's up, So Cold? So I like the old CRPGs where you had pencil and graphic paper. Yeah, we'll see. How's the bad? The Hans ate his hair. Yeah, now I know the kind of person she is, and now I know not to listen to her opinions. She hates straight men. Oh, snap. Get up, Hans. Get up. Yo, I don't know, Tim. I don't know what happened in the game. Again, maybe her perspective is correct. Boy, like, catch these odds. There's someone with the world's biggest chip on the shoulder about men who don't platter. I'm not sure. We'll see. I bet she got played by a player. Eurogamer's KCD 1 and 2 reviews have weird paragraphs where they attack the staff, and the source for the 1 and 2 is just the review of 1. Oh, snap. What's up, BioArc? I have not watched Sexy Biscuit's review. I didn't know he considered the biggest KCD fan in the world. And most insights, she may not like you as a person in real life if you're anything like Hans. Damn. Look at how she massacred my boy. Oh,
helped by
snap.
cutscenes that verge on Kojima levels of indulgence in places, with several scenes feeling bloated and overwritten. I often found myself reaching for my phone to help drive away the boredom in these moments, especially during the long stretches of horseback riding where control is wrested away from you completely, leaving you to passively follow along for minutes at a time while fending off hailstones of exposition. Even
while fending off hailstones of exposition? The horseback riding while you're actually having dialogue and learning more about this quest you're going to do was one of the best parts of the game. Like, hey, we're just going to all ride together before we get into some serious business. Those parts were awesome. This game, once again, not for everyone.
fast travel stretches the meaning of the word as you wait patiently for your little model of Henry to toddle across the crisscrossing.
No, there's only 4 minutes left, y'all. We gonna finish it. There's only 4 minutes left. This guy saves your life twice at least before you drag your sorry ass up to do a damn thing. Well, Deacon, we don't know if she played the first one, right? So we'll see.
Roads of its impressionistic map
Yeah, the graphics look
before
amazing.
finally arriving at your destination. Though,
you thought KCD1 was easier to learn than Rogue Trader? As long as the new player comes into knowing you will be weak and have a hard time doing things until they level up, yeah, I guess if you come in knowing what you're getting for, you know, what you're turning in for, sure.
you're just as likely to be interrupted halfway through by an event of some kind, usually wolves or bandits lying in wait to clobber you rather than anything more inviting, making it feel more cumbersome than it needs to be. The thing is, these innocuous encounters aren't just extra.
She is always getting her ass whipped. What is that? Anytime it's a scene of combat, she is getting her ass whipped. The Fextralife was handling business most of the time we saw him. It makes me wonder what my experience is going to be like.
Extraneous time wasters. They're real and frustrating dangers, as, just like the first Kingdom Come, this game is exceedingly stingy with its saves and checkpointing. You're just as likely to die to a random wolf in this game as you are in a full-blown army ambush, potentially undoing hours of painstaking work if you haven't slept in a while or are partway through a mission quest.
Yeah, you need to
It's
sleep.
mean-spirited in the extreme, especially when the combat systems remain one of the worst tools available to you to try and defend yourself with. Like before, an easily worn-down stamina bar governs the limits of your physical abilities in any given fight, turning most scraps into slow, comical dances of swings and recuperating roundabouts. But many of the weapon choices here feel quite limp and
Look at that.
lacking
Look at your
in
handling
heft a
business,
lot
girl.
of the time.
Come on now.
Close quarters fights are just about serviceable, despite its somewhat messy and undercooked directional system of
I caught that, Deacon. She sure did say mean-spirited. The same system is mean to me. Yo, this review is kind of wild. It's kind of wild.
being able to strike to either side, the head, or the gut, but ranged combat feels utterly weightless. Bows and arrows flit through the air like out-of-breath pea shooters, and the new rifle-like hand pistols take such an age to reload that they're next to useless. All this is compounded by a stubborn lock-on that still doesn't want you to easily turn around to fend off multiple nipping fangs or incoming maces. Instead, I found myself relying on the old shield, parry and riposte most of the time, as you would do well to master too, given how much more prevalent fights are across almost all questline types. It's disappointing how often these three activities repeat themselves in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, especially when there's such a wealth of other pursuits to potentially draw from: smithing, hunting, alchemy, and herb gathering, to name just a few of them. It's still a little too eager to jump into more juvenile territory when women enter the picture, especially when Hans is around, but at least it's
Her hate for Hans is definitely related to his treatment of women. Clearly, he does something to women in this game that she finds strongly offensive. What's up, Nino? This issue with reviews nowadays. I don't like this game of these developers, and I'm going to review their game. If you don't like it, don't play it. Problem solved. Instead, they get nice paychecks and use their platforms. So that save a checkpoint on quests. Can you lose master time? Yes, but doing quests, there are plenty of autosaves. Go to sleep. Go brew some savior snaps. When you're outside, when you explore outside of quests, she 100% did not play the first one. The shield doesn't cover all the screen. No, it doesn't, Elric. At least not. It looks like that might have been a lighter shield. We'll see. At this point, all Game Journal reviews are throwaways. You got to find someone you like. Just poking at it. No, wait, not everything is for everyone. This lady, she's getting paid to do this. Yo, I want to know what she has against Hans. Never met a passionate man in her life. I think it was one. There's a review on your reaction. Look, I'm just astounded. Hans has ribs she hates. So Avery and I are going to do some stuff. Yo.
romance buffs are a little more tastefully named this time round. Though, thanks to its infuriating system of multiple menu panels in a single screen, you'd be hard-pressed to even find them most of the time. It shouldn't be this hard to move between important stat info and equipment menus, but somehow it is, and it's one of the many small frustrations in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2
Why is she walking up on a wolf? Why
can't
isn't
help
she
but wear you
hitting
down
the
over
wolf?
time. There are so many times I wish Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was easier to like. Easier to get into, easier to enjoy, and easier to savour in the long run. And that's before we get into the knotty briar patch of its director being a vocal supporter of a movement whose effects continue to cause real and tangible harm to the wider industry. But I also don't think it really cares about being liked either. which is fine, as I don't really like it much myself. There's a lot to admire here, sure, but you have to do so on its own terms. It is a hard and maddening slog at times, but one that still has its moments where it surprises and quietly delights. Like the original, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 isn't an RPG designed to make you feel good. You continue to be little more than a passenger in this historical tapestry, following along behind the horsetails of Henry's betters and clearing up the mess they leave behind. Some will...
Yo! Okay, so she's talking about Gamergate. Like, Vavra's pretty obviously like a Gamergate bro type of guy. I don't agree with Gamergate at all. I don't agree with their perspective on what games should be. But I also don't agree that they're destroying the game industry, to be honest with you. And again, these are people that I strongly agree with. And I do feel like there's a lot of them who harass developers. I've talked about that in my videos before. They harass developers. They try to bully developers into making certain types of games. All that kind of nonsense. I think that's totally wrong, right? And I strongly agree with it. But the fact of the matter is, to me, in order to say that like they're destroying the game industry, you have to be able to show me a great game, a game that was like, man, this was awesome, that didn't do well, or that was torn down, or a studio that was destroyed specifically because of Gamergate and what they're doing. And I don't think that's true. Like, I disagree with the degree of their dislike towards Veilguard, but I didn't feel like it was a good game. Most people don't feel Concord was a good game, right? I disagree with the degree to which they pointed hate towards Forspoken. I don't think it was worth I don't think it deserved all of that fire and fury, but it wasn't a great game, right? So to me, like, the games that they really disagreed with, they were actually good or even great. They couldn't do anything to stop. Metaphor, Baldur's Gate 3, Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man 2. There's really nothing they could do to stop any of these games. So to me, to say that they're destroying the industry, I think that's a stretch. I think it's a stretch. We just disagree with these folks. We disagree with these folks that don't like what they're doing. It's not the same thing. It's not the same thing. Yeah, there's a personal bias there for sure. What's up, Skeleton? How are you, dude? Say, y'all mad about this late, but clapping like seals over Veilguard reviews from... said clapping like seals? Who was hating on Veilguard that I was clapping for? No game studio that creates good games fails. Well, that's not true. That's not true. EA has closed down some awesome studios before Veilguard. I don't remember the names of all of them, but there have absolutely been good studios that did not deserve to be closed, that their publisher just went on ahead and packed them up. Woo! Okay, staying on brand as I've come to expect. They're making money. F tier. I'm not the slightest big shock that an Epic Games rather is salty about someone else's studio succeeded. They're not going to be employed 10 years from now. We'll see. Are you talking? No, Gamergate 2. There's a more recent version of it now, Prodigal Dog. Look up. Oh, yeah, Sierra Games. Oh, thanks, Skeleton. I got you, man. At that point, you might as well say, yeah, I had a rust patch and couldn't find work. All right. All right. I think that was a little crazy. Many of you have asked me to give it a thumbs up. I am. You know, it's interesting. Somebody pinged me on Twitter about this, which is part of the reason I decided to watch it. And they were like, it's wrong. I knew she had said the stuff about Vavra in the written version of this review. I didn't expect it to be in the video. That's kind of wild. To me, it hits even harder having her voice behind it and saying it in it, like, this is why I can't stand you. Somebody asked me, isn't it wrong that she put this in her review and that she allowed it to affect her score? She probably potentially allowed it to affect her score. I think it's wrong for you to have a personal political disagreement with a developer and allow it to impact the score that you give to their game, and allow it to impact the manner in which you review their game. I don't think it's wrong to put that information in a review at all. Because, to be frank, there are a lot of people, the purpose, in my mind, the purpose of these reviews is to arm the consumer with the information they would want to decide whether or not they want to purchase this game, right? And there are absolutely some people who will hear some of the things that Vavra, who is co-founder of the studio, it's not like he's some random developer, right? He's co-founder of the studio. There are some things that he has said, some political viewpoints that he has been very, very forcibly public about. And some people will look at that and say, I do not want to purchase a game made by this man. And I think consumers have a right to make that choice. Just like consumers have the right to make the choice and say, hey, I don't want to play a game that has pronouns in it, right? Like, I disagree with the perspective, but you absolutely have the right to make a decision that, hey, I don't want to purchase a game that doesn't have this content. I disagree with developers being harassed over that. I disagree with, oh, the dev has decided to put in pronouns, so now I'm going to bring them up over and over again, and I'm going to track them, and I'm going to harass them, and I'm going to tell them, you should die. You shouldn't be in the gaming industry anymore. I disagree with all that nonsense. But if you have a personal decision like, hey, I do not want to play games that have this kind of content in them, that's perfectly fine. And I believe you should have reviews that provide this information, let you know, hey, there are pronouns in this game. You might have an issue with that. I think that's fair. So I think it's also fair, hey, this guy is a Gamergate guy. This guy has certain viewpoints in regards to what's woke, and what's a bad game, right? And so you might want to know that before you purchase it. I think it's all fair, but this didn't feel good. This felt like absolutely she has a certain slant against them, probably because of those particular viewpoints. I think that's whack. I think that's whack at the end of the game. Silver, what's up, man? Appreciate the gift of sub, man. Bug, what's up, dude? Appreciate the raid, man. What's going on, TC Dub? How are you, man? How are you? Have a fun time, ball. For sure. Suzanne, what's going on? Always good to see you. Hope you all had a good time. This right here, this is grifting, rage baiting nonsense. Basically, yeah, like it was all about, hey, this is terrible. It didn't seem like she gave this game a fair shake, which is crazy. Honestly, I've never listened to a review that was like this. That was to the point where I was like, wow, it seems like she really, really doesn't like this person. What's up, Bug Mike? How are you, dude? Oh, that's awesome. I appreciate it, Suzanne. The place kind of like, it sounds like she endorsed the game. We particularly have the opinion section that is separate for news reviews for a reason. To be honest with you, though, Quintech, I don't conduct my reviews that way. Like when I did my review of Veilguard, I talked about the combat, I talked about the gameplay, I talked about the dialogue, but I also talked about how it handled the subject of being non-binary. I talked about Tasha's content, and I talked about it specifically from the standpoint of inclusion and how they handled that non-binary dialogue, right? So you could make the case that maybe that kind of stuff belongs more in the opinion section. But to me, I'm like, as a consumer who's going to purchase this product, you probably want to know about this. So I put it directly in my review. And I feel like it's fair for somebody else to have the exact same perspective, but from the complete opposite political viewpoint, where they say, hey, this guy, he's a Gamergator bro. Some of my audience probably wants to know that before they purchased it. So let me put this in the review so that you're aware of what you're supporting. Guys, like I was saying, lick is more than licks. All that to give a 3 out of 5 is wit. That's the other thing too. It felt like a 1 out of 5 review, the way all the things she talked about. But I despise Gamergate, so let me pull down my pants and rub my arms all over the script. Basically, was unprofessional. That's true. That's true. Didn't know you were able to. Bug Mike, I don't have the actual game. I'm just doing. I'm looking at reviews of the game. I'm gonna be playing tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Is that crap that piss people off enough to push back and get their grifting? Yep. An independent content creator is much different from a publication in that regard, or at least that's what you're taught when you get the degree. There we go. All right. Well, that was interesting. Something tells me this next one will probably have much less fireworks. This is WolfHeartFPS, friend of the channel. Love WolfHeart. He does amazing content. Really, really awesome stuff for Baldur's Gate 3. Seems like it's going to have a lot of content coming for Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Of course, I have a link to his video down in the description, along with links to the Eurogamer and the Fextralife review that we watched as well. I think Wolf said he's going to be coming out with like 3 videos tomorrow. So he's going to be starting out a Let's Play, and then he's got 2 guides that is going to be dropping. So if you haven't already, definitely make sure that you subscribe to his channel and that you're ready for all of the content that he'll be dropping. So with that, let's get into his review.
Unfortunately, I didn't leave myself enough time to do a highly edited, crazy in-depth fun type review. So this will be a rare case of a minimally edited, unscripted, probably somewhat disorganized video here from myself on Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Quick FYI, tomorrow, February 4th at 11 a.m. Eastern, I'll be dropping Let's Play Episode 1. So if you're interested in following something like that, be on the lookout, as well as 2 guides to help get you started. But let's talk about Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 with no spoilers, and the gameplay that you see in the background will mostly be just me running around the starting town, or it's from the prologue.
Let's see how often he gets his ass beat. Let's see how many screens with red tinges we get compared to our last review.
No need to actually watch this video if you don't want to. Like I said, I'm not spending a lot of time on the editing process. But long story short, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 will likely go down as one of my favorite RPGs of all time. Probably a little bit of recency bias in that statement, and I'm also coming from the perspective of someone who is a big fan of the first game, but can also acknowledge that it's nowhere near being the perfect game, but it was very unique and special. KCD 2 is also not the perfect game, and I'll have a negative section towards the end of the video. But it is the first game on steroids, and that's really all that many of us fans wanted.
Nice.
Throughout my playthrough so far, I've been getting feelings similar to what I felt when playing Baldur's Gate 3. That doesn't mean that if you're a Baldur's Gate 3 fan, you'll like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. They're very different games. They're both very much RPGs, though. But if I had to describe these...
Sounds exhausted, Deacon. Probably try to play this straight through and then doing a bunch of content for it. He tries to like stack up as many of those Let's Play episodes beforehand as he can, because it's really, really hard as a content creator to do those Let's Plays consistently while you're doing other content. And so he basically went like 2-3 weeks straight trying to stack things up. He's put out virtually nothing on his channel compared to his usual pace of dropping videos. So it'll be interesting to see what he comes up with. What's up, Dapper? How are you? Right out with his opinion from the jump. Yep. I try to do that in my videos as well, to be honest with you. So ironic we're having the conversation because I just came to the conclusion I need to do a better job of that. I really, really believe in front loading the video and saying, this is how I feel, this is what we're going to talk through it. If you want to hear more about it, stick around. But if you don't, obviously this is not the video for you. I don't believe in trying to string the viewer along. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You might as well let them know, hey, this is what it is, and then they can make a decision up front about whether or not this is a video they actually want to watch. It just makes more sense to me. Take care, Bug Mike. Appreciate you stopping through.
These feelings rather vaguely. I would say think of how you felt playing RPGs back in the golden age before greed so heavily took over our industry. A time when we had passionate studios making RPGs that they want to make, that they would like to play themselves. Studios that were not afraid to try new crazy things and stuff like that. And that type of passion, I can just feel it when I'm playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and I appreciate Warhorse for that. It's a great feeling when you're playing an RPG. I'm about 70 hours into the game or so.
Oh, snap!
You lack the perspective of someone who knows how the game ends. So it's important for me to note here. I could have just lied and not told you that, but I'm going to be honest here. But with that said, I do have the perspective of being someone who has been taking their time, really dipping into the immersion of the game, doing all the side quests, trying crazy things. I'm really in no rush at all, and I think that's exactly how this game needs to be played,
Yep,
at least
exactly,
for
Deacon.
myself. And when I spend 70 hours in a
Take care,
game
Tex.
and
Have a
have an
good one,
extremely
dude.
enjoyable time, there's nothing that can take that fun away from me. I know some of you, if a game has a bad ending, it will ruin the entire experience, but for me, it would just be unfortunate, even though I don't think the game is going to have a bad ending. There's nothing indicating that it will. In fact, I think it's probably going to be really good. But
What's up,
I tend to
Fluffy?
care much
Appreciate you
more about
following
the
me over on
journey, and the
Twitch,
journey
man.
so far has been really, really enjoyable. And before I get into gameplay specifics, I want to quickly talk about the price tag here. So KCD2 is selling for a $60 base edition on PC. Not even technically a full-priced game these days. And for those who are the target audience here, I think this is a steal when compared to many other $60 or $70 games.
Okay, so there are still tipsters in the game. So you can listen to people talk about different things, and there's a tipster aspect to it that'll help you pick up quests. Good to know.
I mean, even looking at Avowed,
Yeah, I agree, Deacon. I feel like the pricing, considering what I've heard we're going to get, as far as the amount of content, it sounds very fair.
even if Avowed turns out to be an amazing game, which I really hope that it does. We already know that Avowed is a 30 to 40 hour experience. I think the devs even said that themselves. And it's selling for a base edition on PC for $70, $80 on console. When it comes to content offered, KCD2 simply just offers a ton of content when you compare it to most other games of a similar or higher price.
Yeah, Fluffy, the game is not coming out until tomorrow. So I get it at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. I don't know what time zone you're in, but yeah, it's tomorrow where you can start playing it. Yep, I agree, Doctor. Very reasonable. Did you know in BG3 dwarves, or in my case, dwarf girls, have a unique style of attacking? Like with halberds, they're short, so they use an underhanded swing to build up momentum. No, I've never played as a dwarf in BG3. Elric, that's an interesting note. East Coast, thank you for the info. Yep, no problem, dude. No problem at all. Still recommend Steam purchases so you can refund if absolutely necessary. Always useful. Avowed is priced around making you sub to Game Pass. That's exactly it, Quintek. And I think it's very, very unfortunate. You know, on some level, I feel duped once again. I was really excited originally when BioWare got bought by EA. I was like, man, this is going to be amazing. They're going to get so much more money. Their games are going to become so much better. And that didn't happen. I was really excited when Microsoft bought Obsidian because I'm like, man, Microsoft really wants to push Xbox. They really want more people picking up their hardware. So they're going to be gung-ho about Obsidian making the very best games they can. And they're going to give these guys a pot full of money to really, really just be able to go all out. And I should have known. I should have known that wouldn't happen. And it absolutely does not look like that's happening at all. And to see them gear everything around Game Pass, which obviously is going to hurt the sales of Avowed, it's sad, man. It's just sad.
Of course, there's a ton of factors that go into game
One day I'll be on that list, Dapper. One way.
pricing.
One day.
Publishers, how much time a studio
Whoa, Doctor. Thank you so much, dude. I appreciate the 1,000 bits, man. And I'm glad you're enjoying the streams.
spends on the game's replayability. Expenses on cinematics and actors vary from studio to studio. Some go all out in those categories. Some barely do it at all. There's a lot of factors here. But I think you still get the point that I'm trying to make. If $70 was accepted as the norm for fully priced games these days, if there were going to be two games that should represent what a full-priced game should be, KCD2 and Baldur's Gate 3 are those two games. Yet both of these games are selling for $10 cheaper than many other games that contain half the content, half the enjoyment, and I would say half the soul. Right. I am ranting a bit here, but this is Wolf Unscripted, so get used to it for this video. KCD2 offers a ton of content. The devs said 80 to 100 hours, and I think I'm probably going to be playing for a lot more than that. And even though I'm not sure about the ending, I'm fairly confident that this price tag is worth it if you are the target audience. Well worth it. And while this game won't be for everyone, you know, grounded medieval setting means no fantasy or magic. First person perspective only is always a bit divisive, and some mechanics in this game I would say are a bit on the hardcore side. I mean, they're not even really that crazy. It's not like it's a crazy difficult game, but we seem to have lost our overall intelligence as a gaming community over the years as games continue to streamline, and we forget how games were in the 90s and early 2000s.
That's one of the things I definitely appreciate about the Kingdom Come series. It's a game that respects out. You'll be all right. You'll figure it out. You'll make some mistakes. You'll stumble. And honestly, I don't even just mean that from the standpoint of the gameplay systems. The dialogue, the story, the themes that are handled, all of it is very, very adult. Like Kingdom Come Deliverance is a game that's unquestionably meant for adults. And I really appreciate that, because in a lot of the games, it's not just that the systems are streamlined, it's that it doesn't feel like it's made for an adult mind. It's made for a game that, even though it says it's mature, it really seems like it's trying to ensure that even kids will be able to play with no problem. And so it's rare that we get experiences like KCD, and really, really hoping, it seems like the sequel's going to live up to that as well. That's awesome. Reed, you said, I'd much rather have Obsidian owned by Microsoft than EA. A couple of years ago, I would have agreed with you, but it seems like recently Microsoft has been on a rash of closing down studios that really didn't need to be closed. And it seems like they've become much more focused on, hey, our games are going to be on all platforms, which means you don't really value your own platform as much, which means you don't value having first-party titles as much. That was the real exciting thing to me about them buying Obsidian. I'm like, yo, Xbox hasn't had any games. They're going to give Obsidian so much money because they're going to want to have the very best games on Xbox. But now you're putting all your games on PlayStation, so it's clear that's not the case. And so, honestly, I don't feel nearly as good about this deal as I once did. Could they see this game being a third person? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Does it sandbag punishments for failure? Mm-hmm. And that thought on games are designed. EA.
Like Morrowind would be considered very hardcore these days. But I can confidently say that this is an easy purchase for fans of the original.
Exactly.
And I also
Jonathan,
believe
I
that
agree.
Warhorse will be bringing in a ton of new fans this time as well. Well, let's get into some of the biggest highlights for me, and then we'll get into a few of the negatives. KCD 2 is one of the most reactive RPGs that I've ever played, at least in the past decade. Run around naked, NPCs will comment on that. If you're stinky because you didn't wash yourself or your clothes, NPCs will react. Depending on what you're wearing, your charisma can go up or down, making it easier or harder to pass checks and get good deals on buying goods from vendors. If you do more serious crimes, there will be more serious punishments with the game's crime system. You can be branded, you can be caned, you can be whipped, you can go in the pillory, you can even be executed, which I haven't been executed yet, but I'm assuming that means
That's
game
not how he should have done that.
over. Towns have reputation systems, so all of your actions don't just affect NPCs in your immediate vicinity. There's like this overarching effect as well, which is really, really engaging. If you have blood on your shirt, some NPCs will notice. If you treat an NPC badly, they may cut you off from future services. Stealing a guard's uniform but putting it on in front of the guards, they will notice that you're wearing their stuff. There was this one time where I was scoping out a little house to try to see what was inside it, and I was peeking through the window like a creeper. The person sitting in a chair inside the house noticed that I was peeking in. It's so reactive. I ran my horse super fast up to an NPC, stopping just short of running them over. This lady called my horse a four-legged ogre, if I remember correctly. She is no longer an NPC in my game. Mutt, the dog that you can have, will run up to people's water tubs to hydrate and clean himself. But the crazy thing is the NPCs may react positively or negatively to this. The fact that there's a reaction at all is already just above and beyond most other games.
Absolutely.
Really outstanding world reactivity. Now, it's not perfect. I'll talk about that in my negative section, but companies could learn from Warhorse here, and we want more of this in our RPGs. Quick warning before the next section of this video, the tone of my voice and the pacing is going to change a little bit. I don't want it to catch you off guard. Basically, I had to record this video twice. And for the second recording, I had to redo the first half of the video because of some audio clipping. And my throat just kind of hurts right now, and I'm talking lightly. Let me know what voice you like better. Next, I want to talk about the open world, exploration and how you can tackle it. So KCD 2 features 2 very large maps. Just kidding, not that much of a change.
Nice.
After you're done with the first map and you move into the second map, I don't want to spoil how that happens or anything. Like, you're just going to look at the map on the second one and just be like, what the heck? There's another entire game in front of me that I have yet to explore. And
Nice.
It's such an amazing feeling when you've enjoyed, your 20, 30, 40, 50 hours up to that point already. It's such a great feeling.
I'm a little concerned with that. I hope they telegraph that to some degree, because I do want to make sure I do everything on the first map before I move on to the second map. So it'll be interesting to see how that's handled. I haven't heard of anyone feeling like that transition was bad, so they must have found a good way in order to be able to do it. This is an incredible review so far. Joe Wolfheart always does great work. So if you're not subscribed to WolfHeartFPS, I highly recommend it. He is always thorough with his reviews and his previews, and it's great work, great stuff. His voice hanging on by a thread. Exactly, Deacon.
Walking into that second map and knowing that the experience is not even close to being over. In my opinion, both maps are absolutely gorgeous, and I love just running around, going through fields, going through forests, and I love not using fast travel, even though I use it a lot in my Let's Play just for time reasons. But it's such a beautiful world, and it makes it even cooler when you realize that most of the towns, the city of Kuttenberg, a lot of these areas and places and even buildings are based on real locations, some of which are still standing today in the Czech Republic. When you go to the city of Kuttenberg, some of the buildings that you'll walk up to, you can actually go to Kutna Hora right now, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, in the Czech Republic, and see those buildings. I'm definitely going there at some point after playing this game. I'm not going to share any footage of the main city in this game, but it was arriving to it is a feeling that I will never forget. It's just one of those old school step out moments that Bethesda used to have in their games, stuff like that, where you just have that wow factor and you're so excited to be where you are and explore. Now, for someone that's looking for endless dungeons, with mythical creatures and glowing swords that you can find in the back of the caves and stuff like that, this is not going to be the game for you.
Oh, Pope, you said you could go back to the other map? Okay, interesting. Then if it works that way, then awesome. Okay. Be one of those, see here, ready to go, better finish your errands here. We won't likely be free for some time. Right, exactly. That's the way I hope it goes. I exhaust every game until I hate his guts. Most are just OCD kids. Sarah Bonde, it seems like it's 2 huge maps. I think this game is supposed to be like double the size of the original. I can't remember if you played KCD1, but yeah, this is supposed to be significantly larger.
That said, there are a lot of secrets to find in this game. You can find some nice weapons in certain areas out and about, and a lot of the times it's done in a rather realistic way. And the purpose of a lot of these environments and locations really is just beautiful immersion. So sometimes a field is just going to be a field, but for some reason in this game, it works and it makes sense and it adds a lot to the game versus being a patch of land that in other games a player might feel like this is just a waste of space to try to make the game seem bigger than it actually is. I love the world in this game, and I think a lot of you guys are going to as well. Another thing I appreciate about the way that the open world works in this game, I mean, this also just goes for quests in general too, is you could, I mean, I don't know if you can get to the second map right away in the beginning of the game. I'm not sure about that, but regardless, you can kind of go where you want on these maps, which will present different types of content to you, and the order that you tackle this content might drastically change the way that you experience the game versus someone else. For example, on the first map, I didn't go to this one town until the end of where I've already done most of the content on the first map. And when I went to that town, I got all these quests and I learned all these skills that I didn't have up to that point, that made those skills and everything extremely hard for my character while I've been playing this entire time. But because of that, not having good skills, not having, good lockpicking skills and stuff like that, I was forced to try to figure out other ways to solve things in this game. And it resulted in some really, really enjoyable, fun situations where I had to be creative and try to figure things out because I didn't go to that one town when a lot of other players will go to that.
That was a complaint in the Eurogamer review that when I read through it, they felt like some critical information regarding not only your skills but also combat was locked behind side quest, and they hated that. Now, when they said combat, I immediately knew what she was talking about, like the Master Strikes. It's probably works the same way it worked in the first game, where you've got to talk with that trainer that we keep seeing in the trailers, and figure out and train with him until we pick some of that stuff up. And maybe skills work in a very similar way, where you have to find the side quest associated with that skill in order to be able to get the most out of it, which I could kind of see how that might be disappointing and irritating if you don't know that up front. And then even if you do know that up front, you've got to figure out where it is. So I'll be curious to find out when we get to his negative section, whether or not that's going to be a negative listed for WolfHeart. We'll see. Yeah, thieving town. Right, Master Tomcat. Yeah, it seems like you have to unlock your combat abilities by training with him. Yeah, I thought I remembered it right where, but still very early days. Not just a whole lot of actual engine intel, just lots of talk about what their plans are and stuff. Oh, yeah, I haven't heard anything about Wayward Realms. Is that the one that's supposed to be like the new Elder Scrolls, basically? I know KCG wants a scumbag, 10 plus stealth, lockpicking, pickpocket is essential. I'm going to do it the same way I did in the first game. Go all in on speech and charisma. The 80s games were comparatively impossible, and we had no internet. Yeah. King's Quest Air Today, Going Tomorrow is one of my favorite games. You had to have the book if you were going to play it. Like, translating those languages was no punk.
Town, and I appreciate that. Probably a good time to basically talk about how
Morty
this
says
game absolutely offers players so much agency in how they handle quests in this game, or really anything that they want to try, so many different ways. I don't want to spoil much in this video. I don't want to spoil anything. But there's one location on the first map. You're going to see it in the distance when you arrive in the first town, and you're going to wonder when you're going to get there, okay? Regardless, when you get there and you do the quests inside that place, there are so many ways to solve these quests. It's crazy. The first game had a lot of that too, but this game absolutely does it to a much higher extent, and it's so much fun. The craziest situations have come out of me just trying to figure out ways to do things in non-conventional ways, I guess I could say, and it resulted in finding a lot of cool secrets in a lot of these places and finding a lot of unique ways to try things that you didn't think were even going to be a possibility in the game. As far as the story goes, I am
Pizza, I'm streaming a review. I'm not actually playing the game.
Entrenched in it. I am very, I haven't finished the game yet, but I am so curious how this is all going to end.
Wow, that looks so freaking cool, dude. Wow, that looks awesome.
And the story along the way has just had some really intense, amazing moments. I think they nailed the main story. This is going to be highly subjective, of course, but I like the story in the first game too. I love medieval history, and the fact that we have like this fictional story weaved into a non-fictional story is just incredible, and I think they did such a good job. The writing is really well done overall, I would say, and the way that they share the story through the cinematics, these are some of the best cinematics I've ever seen in gaming.
Exactly, Dan. Amazing
so
shot.
Good, so movie-like. The music is absolutely incredible. Shout out to Jan Volta, one of the best soundtracks for sure of recent.
So Wolf agrees that the music is on point. I'm really happy to hear that. Again, I wasn't all that impressed with the music in the first game, so we'll see if I feel differently. But man, these shots at night, I don't think I ever just walked around at night in the first game. I might have to do that in this one. Because, you know, I was always worried about somebody jumping me. But by the time I got later in the game, I didn't need to really be worried about that anymore. I could have just ran. But, you know, there's also the advantage of if you get jumped while you're fast traveling, you can specifically say, okay, I'll tackle this. And then the game brings you in at a point before you are directly engaged with the enemy. Whereas if you're just running around, all of a sudden somebody's going to jump out on the road, and then it could be a problem.
Recent times. I'm very much into the story, but what I really wanted to talk about here.
Yeah, killers. This is we're just looking at reviews. The game isn't actually available until tomorrow morning.
Was the side quest stories. Like the first game, there's a lot of side quests in this game that will probably pull you in just as much, if not even more, than the story as a whole. There were times where I literally kind of forgot about the main story because I was just so sucked into some of these side quests. Some of them are kind of silly. There was one that was maybe a little bit too silly for my liking, but most of them are just really... every character that you come across, not every character, but a lot of the characters you come across, if you keep exploring in that town and where they live and stuff, you find out things about them. You find out background stories, and there might be a character walking around that has like a black eye or something. You wouldn't think anything of it in another game, but then 3 hours later, you're talking to another NPC in that town, and you learn this whole story about the family that they're in and some abuse that was happening, and everything just unravels, and all the little details on characters that you notice throughout your time like come to fruition, and it's really cool. So many characters in this game that you would never expect to have a backstory or anything do actually have deep backstories, and it adds so much life to these towns. It makes like the little side quests and some of the tasks much more enjoyable and immersive. And now I want to talk about RPG mechanics. Even though a lot of what I talked about has to deal with RPG mechanics, I just want to say that one of the highlights of this game...
Is this game good? Steven, did you like the first game? If you like the first game, WolfHeart says KCD 2 is KCD 1 on steroids. So if you like the first game, you'll probably like this game. But if you didn't like the first game, probably not going to like this game either. Oh, I can tell you right now, Deacon, on negatives, first thing he has is bugs, polishing animations. Yeah, not to be, they explicitly do a procedural generation. Oh, that's a big no-no for me. Anytime I hear about a game having procedural generation, it just always makes me feel like this is not a game I'm going to enjoy. 11 and a half hours, yeah. What is the difference if I buy the gold edition? What do we get? Gold edition gives you some additional armors. It gives you another quest and something else that I can't remember. But nothing crazy where you're like, oh man, you really, really got to pick up the gold edition. So if you're concerned, just pick up the regular one. You get loot drops. Are they from you? Shouldn't be, Cardinal, because I'm not actually streaming the game yet. But maybe Twitch counts streaming the review as streaming the actual game. Couldn't tell you. Steven, thanks for following me over on Twitch, dude. You see how long the review was. Yeah, he did a full one.
For me is the use it and get better at it type system, where the more alchemy you do, the better that you get.
Oh,
alchemy,
yeah,
of course,
I'm sorry. The gold edition also automatically gives you access to the expansion pass that's coming out later on this year, I believe. Yeah, the DLCs. So they released a roadmap of all the DLCs they plan to provide.
The more you sprint around and jump over obstacles, the more vitality your character is going to build. The more you train in combat, the better you get with specific weapons, while at the same time, you're also getting better overall as a combatant with your strength.
Take care, man. Good luck with your job orientation tomorrow.
And your agility and your vitality and stuff like that. Everything you do in this game, you feel like you're progressing your Henry, which I really appreciate. And I also appreciate that there's so many perks in this game. There's 275 perks in total. And as you level up every couple levels, you'll be investing into perks into certain categories that you have focused on improving. And the perks are just, they're a lot of fun. I find them a lot more interesting overall than they were in the first game. And also there's no more of that give and take system where you take a perk in the first game, but you get like a serious negative that goes along with it, which made a lot of players not want to take hardly any perks in the first game. You don't have that in the second game, and that some people are not going to like that, but I actually think it's a great change for the second game, and it makes progression a lot more fun. I also very much appreciate
with that broom, bro. I like the way they handle LODs. Just the buildings and tiles look great. Yep, I agree, Doctor. It looks amazing. John Doe, I think it just gives you a couple of options for customizing shields. It's not like full customization, just to be clear. Yeah, Dan, 258 perks. 258 perks total, and then there's secret perks you can unlock over the course of the game.
Appreciate how you can really build your Henry differently than another player. You can go for more of that speech build and try to talk your way out of situations, or you can go for that brute soldier build.
See, that's the exact opposite of what Fextra said. Fextra felt like everybody ends up the same. So it'll be interesting to see how I feel when I play the game. Lots more options was excellent for someone like me. Character build is strong. Vice in mind. Me
Or perhaps
too.
like a stealth character, or you can be someone that tries to do a little bit of everything. So many possibilities for how you build your Henry, and they all result in very different feeling playthroughs. Even though I've only played one, I've retried missions in different ways, and as an RPG lover, this is stuff that I love. This is stuff that I live for in games. And the crazy thing is it goes beyond just, you know, having a high strength character, being able to intimidate characters. If you want to intimidate someone, what you're wearing also matters as well. Like, how dirty your armor is may actually affect a certain stat in this game that may make you more intimidating. Or if you're talking to nobles, like, you might want to try to switch up your outfit a little bit, even if you're not playing like a speech charismatic character. Put on like a merchant's coat or something that's a little nicer than like a rugged outfit that you might have while you're out exploring, hunting, or doing a stealth mission. And all this stuff results in different interactions, and there's reactivity for all of this. I mean, the color of your armor actually affects the visibility of your armor. So if you're stealthing around, you're wearing something shiny, you're more likely to be spotted. If you're wearing too much chainmail, your noise levels will go up.
No, you don't only have swords in this game, Steven. So you can use swords, maces, I think halberds or spears are available. Axes are available. There's also bows, crossbows, and I know later on you get access to guns as well. So there are a lot of different ways that you can approach combat. You can stealth, so you could do stealth kills. There's mounted combat, so you can get on your horse and attack people from your horse. Bunch of different ways where you can decide what does or does not work for you. On some level, I agree with your Deacon, but considering the time frame, I think it's acceptable that, hey, he hasn't played this game multiple times, so this is the only perspective he can provide. So yeah, based on what he has seen and felt from one run through, not even to completion, that you could build very differently, but that may not entirely the case. Yeah, whereas Fextralife said he finished the whole game, right? And so when he finished the whole game, he's like, I maxed out all the perks, so there ain't no difference. So it seems like it might be a situation where in like the first 30 hours, there's a lot of build variety based on how you want to start. But for anybody doing a completionist run, by the end, we're all going to be the same, which was not the way it was in KCD1. In KCD1, you felt much more constrained with what perks you could or could not purchase. And to be honest, I kind of like that. It'll be interesting to see how I feel about it being more wide open now. Jack of all trades. Not dinging war or anything, just a bit of a notice. Yeah. I got you. You could end with everything unlocked. That's what it seemed like Fextralife was saying, Deacon. Yeah, late game will probably be all relatively the same. Yeah, it seems like I haven't been able to play the game myself, obviously, but it seems like maybe you get more perk points. In fact, when I've looked at some of the perk videos, and it seems like top level perks are unlocked at like level 15, but the actual stats go up to like level 30. So there are a lot of additional, theoretically, there are a lot of additional perk points you get when the whole list is unlocked for you and the world is your oyster. Might have to fish around for a reduced XP mod or something for harder playthroughs. Possibly. Yeah, History Buff, I'll be watching Mortismal Game is next. Well, if you super tilt play 200 hours, you master it all. Yeah.
Up, and you're more likely to be heard if you're trying to stealth around, so you got to take that stuff off. And a lot of this is also represented in the game, like you can hear your chainmail the more that you have it on. So cool, so in-depth, RPG madness. And on top of all that, just in-game reactivity with these RPG mechanics and your Henry getting better.
Offhand, I agree with you, Pope. I think it was better when you had to really buckle down and say, all right, this is my build, this is how I'm going to build my character, and I'm sticking with that. And deviating out of that was a major choice because it took a lot of time for you to build up some of these systems. It definitely seems like they've walked back some of that. And without having played the game, just hearing about it, I don't like it. But we'll see how I feel when I've actually played the game. Wonder how many secret perks there will be. Great question, John. I don't know. Is it like Skyrim? It is in the sense that you level up the systems by actually doing them. It's not in the sense that this is a medieval sim. So there's no fantasy elements. There's no magic. There's no supernatural. It's nothing like that. You have to self-limit, I guess, if you play a lot of hours. Exactly. You'd have to put those constraints on yourself. Neither am I. Most people aren't going to be level 30 max skills at the end. True. Most people don't even bother finishing the games they play, to be honest with you. Right. History, as soon as I said that, history about said, I'm lucky to finish most games I start. I get burnt out on the loops. A lot of people do, for sure. That effectively creates its own easy mode. Grind and full unlocks if you have difficulty with the game. Yep, exactly. Exactly.
You as a player will experience several moments where you feel so good about what you've been practicing. This happened a lot with me with like alchemy. I was, working on potions and it was a little bit frustrating.
Hey! Seems like that dial goes a hell of a lot faster now. I used to hate waiting in the first game for this dial to slowly come around and get to the day. I like that change. Very nice.
It was taking me way too long, but my character started getting better as I got more perk points, but I also started getting better as well. And I started figuring out like shortcuts, and I started getting riskier with trying to save time. And when I was able to pull things off, such a feeling of satisfaction and achievement. And you combine player achievement, like you just feeling like you did something and you got better yourself, with character progression, deep character progression. It is just a recipe for feeling damn satisfied. Before I get into the negatives, I do just want to quickly talk about combat because some of you guys are going to be wondering about that. For a new player to the franchise, if you didn't play the first game, there's definitely a much easier onboarding process this time around, and the combat is also less janky, which a more smoother combat will make you less frustrated. So I do think there's going to be more players that enjoy it this time around than...
Oh, good call out, Deacon. The slower time turn in the first game was probably more so about the engine, so that they could ensure that everything was loaded up properly once you came out into the world. That makes sense. Whereas now they've ironed out those issues so that they give it to you much faster. Nice.
In the first game, there's a lot of players that just couldn't stand the combat and they quit. I do think some of those players will be able to play this second game and actually get into it this time, or be able to at least tolerate it. With that said, it still does get, it's not perfect, okay? I very much enjoy it. I liked it in the first game despite the jank behind it. It's still not like this perfect system where I think people are gonna get frustrated. Not as much as the first game, but I think a lot of players are still gonna get frustrated. The targeting system is way better, but it's still not perfect. Sometimes when I'm switching targets, it just doesn't feel that great. I don't know why. It doesn't really bother me, but there's times when you feel a little bit of jank still. And when you guys fight like your first wolves or dogs, like I think you're gonna feel that the most. You're gonna be like, oh my god, this is kind of annoying in a way. But with all that said, I think this is a great combat system overall, and I'm so happy that Warhorse is trying to do something unique here with.
Oh, so they tell you when your armor is heavily damaged. That's interesting. It's got a good Steam. I thought it was verified on Steam Deck. My big thing will be, does fighting multiple enemies feel like auto-target hell? Great question. Still sticky targeting. Yep. I'm not looking forward to fighting the wolves. From everything I've witnessed with wolves, it looks dreadful. It looks absolutely dreadful. Those aren't dogs. Those are wolves.
With it.
Has most of these reviews of combat been just with swords? Where are the axe enthusiasts? Personally, I want to try pole arms. Yeah, it doesn't seem like any of the people have been trying variety, and that's probably because swords are the only weapons that allow you to do master strikes, which I understand the devs want to do that to differentiate the weapons, but I think it might have been a mistake because now you have this weapon with a degree of functionality that no other weapon has. And what are the other weapons really providing you that's going to motivate you to deviate from the sword as far as a melee weapon, right? Like, sure, mace is better with armored foes, but most of the foes, at least early game, are going to be unarmored, right? And so, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to go out on a limb and suggest that fighting wolves is much better with pole arms. Now, that's a case for them for sure. Crossbow, quick swap the halberd, 2-shot kills is what I want to try. We'll see. People are restricting to early footage, which is mostly just swords. No, because I've seen early footage with all sorts of different weapons. I don't think it's because it's there early in the game.
And I think a lot of players are going to enjoy it. I just don't want to tell you guys that, yes, everybody's going to absolutely love this. It is.
Like that guy he's looking at right now is wielding a hammer. So he could easily kill this guy and pick that hammer up and use it.
4 million times better than the first game. It's still basically the first game, but with some improvements. I do absolutely love what they did with Master Strikes. It's so cool. It's a hard thing to pull off, but those of you guys that know Master Strikes from the first game, they're way cooler in this game, and it requires more skill, and I appreciate that. So overall thoughts on the combat, I love it. I absolutely love it, but I also don't think that everybody's going to love it, but I also think that more people will love it than the amount of people that loved it in the first game. I'll leave it at that. And speaking of something that not everybody is going to love, but I very much love about this game, it is one of my favorite things about KCD1 and of course this game as well, and that is the level of immersion that the devs basically force on you, the player. For myself, this is such a highlight of the game because I just feel like I'm living in medieval.
Yeah, Steven, you can pick up enemies' weapons after you kill them. You can also pick up their shields. You can loot their armor. The equipment might be damaged to a certain degree based on how combat went. So you might have to repair it before it's actually useful to you. But you can loot everything that an individual has. Oh, maces and might be cheaper. Interesting. That's a good call out. Sword just reigns supreme. Swords get the most, absolutely not, given the other weapons as the Master Strikes was a choice. Exactly. Wanted some real Queen Polar Master Strikes. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I feel like you basically ensure people are going to gravitate towards swords. What's up, gamer? How are you, dude? Appreciate you following me over on Twitch. Can wait for shows because I was trash at regular bows, but always felt Action Shield was best of both worlds melee-wise. I only use the sword all the time in KCD1 because you made your father's sword. And so that made me think, okay, Henry's clearly meant to use a long sword. It'll be interesting how I feel in this game.
Bohemia, and I'm actually living as Henry and interacting with like this authentic world. It feels really, really good, and there's not a lot of things that really pull me out of that immersion. Like you're not going to find all the hand-holding aspects that you find in a lot of, you know, like Ubisoft games and games like that.
So John Doe says, I think it makes it better so you're not getting Master Strike every time you attack. And I agree, that could be an advantage of it. But what I find disappointing about it is, in my mind, when I first heard the sword was getting Master Strike and the other ones weren't, I was like, cool. When I'm using the sword, I'll pay attention to using Master Strikes. When I'm using other weapons, I'll focus on combos and use the combos to overwhelm people. But what I feel like we've heard from both Fextralife and Eurogamer is that combos in this game don't actually work, and that you just need to overwhelm your enemy with regular strikes, which to me is disappointing and kind of boring, and makes the sword kind of the default weapon that I would want to go with, because, you know, who wants to just do that over and over again? I want to do something that requires some flair, some finesse. DV, what's going on, man? Appreciate you signing up with me on Prime over at Twitch.
And there's also a lot of quests where you travel kind of far across the map, and some players are going to be wanting to like click a button just to speed there real quick. That's just not what you do in KCD2. You have to be in the world, enjoy the environment, enjoy the ride.
Yeah, they seem easier to remember based on what you have to do, but what both Fextralife and Eurogamer said is that enemies constantly block those combos. So it's very difficult, near impossible to get them off properly. We'll see how I feel when I get into the actual game. Was not being able to combo was a big issue in KCD1, right? Thought they had addressed that to some degree with warfare changes. We'll see, Deacon, but based on the reviews, it seems like no. That's a major step back. The combos are awesome. Yeah, combos were awesome if you were actually able to get them off. I agree with Deacon. I couldn't get them off on a regular basis in KCD1. And from what looking at those reviews, it seems like this game is going to have the same problem. Some of the more serious fighters I've seen do videos seem to suggest combos are easier to achieve, but hard to tell if there are many others suggesting the opposite. We'll see. We'll see. I would expect fainting still works. I fainted a lot in KCD1. Me too. Me too. Yep, I would assume that it still works. Counterattack.
Ride on your horse, which might even be slow sometimes. Listen to the NPCs that you're with when you have like these little conversations that aren't necessarily like full-on dialogue conversations. Enjoy the weather system in the game. It might start raining. You might have a foggy day. Listen to the birds.
I want snow. I know that's crazy to say. I don't know. Does it ever snow in Bohemia? Is Bohemia constantly hot? I really, really want to trust through the snow with my horse in full plate and have all out battles in the snow. And I haven't seen any of that in the footage whatsoever. But we'll see.
Listen to the running water when you're near a creek. All of this adds so much to the experience for someone like myself, and it really keeps you in the world. But I don't know if everybody's going to like that. I think there's going to be some people that just aren't into this like realistic immersion. And this also goes for other things in the game too, like hunting. If you want to hunt for meat or materials, this takes...
That nest was so much easier to see. Like, I stopped bothering to shoot nests out of trees because they would tumble to places that you couldn't see in the grass. And it was so irritating to find. But because the graphics are so improved in this game, it was easy for me to track that nest and easily see, oh, okay, it plopped right there. I could already tell, I'm going to interact with this game so much more than I did with KCD1. What's up, Biox? How are you? You about to play it when it's finally released? First thing tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, sir. I'll be there. Not tonight. It doesn't release until 10 a.m. tomorrow. Faded in combat, I'd be killed. There's a snow mod for KCD? Really? Wow. If they release one for 2, I might go ahead and have to install that. The mountaintops of Eastern Europe? Yes, no, nice, okay. Losing stuff in the foliage was crazy in the first one. Exactly, Seftar. I couldn't find stuff in that foliage, so I just gave up. I just gave up, and I was like, nah, I'm good. Whisper the snowbot to you. Awesome. Thanks, Dad. Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. I did not know there's a snow mod. I thought it released at 12 a.m. I never finished KCD1. Nope, it's not released until tomorrow. He still had a vid. He shot a nest and rolled down a huge hill. So that, yeah, I saw that. But it was easy to see, all right, it's rolling. Like in KCD1, it would drop and you'd be like, I can't eat. I know it rolled, but I have no idea where it rolled to. So irritating.
It's time. Like, you're going to feel like you're actually going out on a hunt. Alchemy and blacksmithing are these entire deep processes where you're going to experience crafting like you've never experienced in games before. It's not just click a button and have a potion be made. You actually have to grab the ingredients from the shelf in alchemy and put it into the pot. And that's all part of the experience, and hearing those sounds, and all of it just comes together for this highly immersive experience. If you want to repair your weapon, you can go to the blacksmith and pay for it, but if you don't have money, or if you just enjoy doing things on your own, there's sharpening wheels. You have to sharpen the entire sword from the top to the bottom. It's a different experience. But man, is it phenomenal for those that really enjoy this immersion, and it makes it even better, in my opinion, that most of it's realistic immersion in Bohemia, modern-day Czech Republic. But actually, before I get into negatives, let me quickly talk about performance, which was a positive for myself. I was playing on Ultra 1440p with a 4080, 64 gigabytes of RAM, and then also I have an AMD Ryzen 9 7900X processor.
Nice.
In the busy city of Kuttenberg, I was getting 105 to 130-ish FPS consistently. And then with DLSS off, I was getting 90 to around 110 or so. Out in the open world with DLSS on, I was getting, let's say, 110 to 140-ish.
Supposedly, reading is going to have perks that the more well-read you are, the better you are at speech, which I think is so freaking cool. Like, I was wondering, with reading being such a big deal in KCD1, how they were going to expand on that in KCD2. I hope I hope the game gives an equal sense of progression on that level. Like, all right, you were able to read, but what's another level that you can go where you can read in a way most people can't? Like, I wonder, can you end up being able to read Latin, or being able to understand Hungarian? I really, really hope they give you an opportunity to learn in a way where other nobles are like, whoa, you know how to do that? That's crazy. Because that was a really, really cool aspect of the first game. It's free, at least I got to do one stream like this. Yep, appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. The KCD happens during summer or spring. That's why there's no snow. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, and I agree, Deacon. Most likely with where the story is placed, it wouldn't make sense for there to be snow. I just think it would be super cool. Heavy armor, long sword, out in the snow, having all-out battles, all-out medieval battles. Yeah, new languages has to be the go. That would be dope. Heard a piece here or two where Henry recognizes Latin, but I do not have that hat. Yeah, I'm hoping if they give him my Henry away, he's going to be all over it. All over it. Kyle Suck, what's up, man? Appreciate you following me over on Twitch, dude.
On average.
Well, look at that. And we now have reached a goal on Twitch. 590 followers. Slowly but surely getting up there. Appreciate you all. I'm glad you all enjoying the content.
No noticeable FPS drops pretty much at all, and the only time the game would actually stutter for me was when an autosave would occur. So overall, great performance for myself on my PC, which is pretty good. But this is a good time to transition into negatives now for this section.
Here
we're going to start
go.
off with bugs, which is like kind of has negatives, but it's also kind of a positive too, because it wasn't the worst ever, but there's definitely some negatives here. Now keep in mind that the majority of my experience has been played on a month early version of the game, which is very, very important to preface with here. With that said, encounter.
So that means that he did not get access to the day one patch that will be available for all of us. And actually, from what I've heard, might be part of the preload. Either it's part of the preload, or when you try to play the game tomorrow morning, it'll automatically prompt you to install the day one patch. But supposedly it fixes a ton of bugs and issues, does a lot to help stabilize the game as well. And so we should be receiving a much better, a much more stable version of the game than he did. And like Deacon just said, the patch is big. It's very substantial. I think it's like 20 or 30 gigs, right? So there's a lot of fixes that are available for us that were not available for WolfHeart.
Treating some bugs, I think, is pretty much a guarantee in an open world RPG that's this big, that offers this much player agency. And I encountered a few bugs that caused me to reload. Maybe these are fixed with version 1.0, but I can't help but feel that some of you will experience some of these bugs as well. For example, there was this one.
Someone started a petition on the Discord to keep me from cheating on Theresa in KCD2. Wow. You know, you might be right, actually, Deacon, that it was more like 50 gigs. You might be right. I might be misremembering that. Look, y'all can let that go. I'll probably be cheating on Theresa stream 1. All right? Heading straight to the bathhouses as soon as I get a little bit of coin. Patches aren't just precise edits, but usually replacements of entire stacks of systems. That's true.
Quest where I was supposed to talk to a group of NPCs that were said to be sitting at a table at the tavern. The innkeeper specifically tells me to go talk to them as they're sitting right there at the table right now. And then there's no one actually sitting at the table that she's talking to. No one in sight to be found for that quest. What I ended up doing for this was reloading, trying to forget about the quest for an hour or two, and then coming back later to try it again. And I did run a few tests. Sometimes I got it to work.
Nope. Deacon, I'm going to say that me and Theresa were an item. We were absolutely a couple, and then just do whatever I want. I really, really want to test the reactivity. I want to see how much of what happened in the first game actually matters. And so I'm curious if Theresa ever pops back up, for sure. Yeah, that bathhouse perk is very, very useful. I wonder if there'll be something similar in the second game. Elric, so far this review has been very positive. We're just now getting to some of the negative things. Exactly, Jovi. Theresa won't know. It ain't going to be no big deal. She won't be bothered at all. But respect for taking the hit. Yeah, I want to see all the reactivity that the game will provide me. So I'm going to pick some things people be interested in. I might pick some things that people are not so interested in seeing as well. I want to test all the reactivity available. So
times I didn't, so the quest was just pretty wonky. There were also a couple times where I went to report to an NPC on a quest or something that happened, and there was no dialogue option to report said findings, which of course is very frustrating. A few things like that have occurred on my run. Now, considering that this game, runs off of this save your schnapps manual save system, if you encounter some of the bugs that I have, even though I haven't encountered like too many, but even encountering just a few of these can cause you a lot of loss of time, and you might not be as cheerful in accepting of these as I am. Once again though, month early version of the game, but I really hope that some of these are fixed in 1.0. A lot of us have been reporting bugs, so maybe they are. Overall though,
that's super cool. So you don't pull the bellows anymore. Instead, you pull the pot down, and that brings it closer to the fire and allows it to boil. super, super cool. And I wonder if the pot, I bet you it doesn't automatically lift back up now. So now you need the sand glass because that tells you, all right, now it's time to lift the thing back up. Wow, that's interesting.
No, just a handful of quests that happen like that. But like I said, I think it's important to point this out just because of the save your schnapp system. So if one of you guys that has limited gaming time experiences a bug that, you know, breaks a quest or whatever, and it forces you to reload, if you haven't saved in a while in the game, that could be a pretty big hit to you. I do think that most players will be fine on day one, especially those of you that don't, you know, play 10 hours a day. There's going to be time, by the time you get to certain places where there's more of a chance of a bug occurring, there'll probably be a patch out. But if you are someone who gets really upset at bugs that can cause a reload, I would recommend waiting for some later on 1.0 reviews, so like maybe a week or so from now. As far as smaller bugs go, sure, there was some clipping in the game. Every once in a while, I would find an NPC that was doing some weird stuff. Didn't look natural, didn't look right. But
Yeah,
these bugs were really
irritating.
not that big of a deal to me.
Sure.
Overall, it was fine. On the same subject, I did get the feeling that the further you get into the game, things are a little bit less polished, maybe with the exception of like cinematics or central story related stuff. I specifically noticed this with some of the facial animations in regular dialogue. And facial animations are already not great in this game, minus the cinematic animations, which I think at large are really well done.
Gives me strong Veilguard vibes, to be honest with you. Veilguard had this irritating thing where for the most part, people's faces would remain the same, except they would do this little half smirk grin type thing while talking to you. I found that to be so irritating by the time I got halfway through the game. Now, KCD2, by all indications, seems to be much better written, and the voice acting is better. And so I feel like the lack of facial animations will irritate me less in this game, but it's definitely noticeable. Like, people's faces do not change regardless of what they're saying. Yeah, see, they do Henry well. And the Cinemaster great, but those whole ass ABC faces that they injured are exactly super stiff. Super stiff. The first game, I had at least 2 broken threads. Yeah, that fits. Supposedly, this game is going to be significantly more stable. Significantly more stable. So we'll see. What's up, Josh? How are you? How do I get the Twitch drops on PS5? I don't know. I don't control the drops from Twitch. It's automatic. It's automatically run through the system. So I assume when you get the drops, it'll give you instructions on how to claim them. Their brows don't move. That's always a big problem. Exactly.
But there were times where I noticed it was getting worse than it was earlier in the game. This is actually not something that bothers me that much, though, especially in a game that offers so much more that's done at such a high quality. I can overlook stuff like this with some games. It's not that big of a deal to me, but I think objectively, there's some times when it doesn't look the greatest. And I did feel that some more time could be spent in this department, especially in like the second half of the game. Perhaps my personal biggest negative, though, all these negatives affect people differently. This one affected me the most, more so than any reloading bug or stupid animation. And this was the overuse of certain face models. There's this one guy in the game that has a particular face, and the first time I encountered him, you can even hear me saying that this guy looks cool in my Let's Play series. But 40 hours after that, I would like nothing more than to delete that stupid face off the face of Bohemia. It is used way too many times. And it's not just used with like a regular NPC walking around the city. Like, that's not that big of a deal. You see this face a lot with like characters that are sometimes like a second in command of something, or just NPCs that you can talk to more so than just a regular NPC. There's a few other faces like this as well, and it was just really bad with this one particular.
One thing I can already tell that's going to annoy me about the beginning of my playthrough is that as soon as I get out, ASAP, I'm going to want my dog and I'm going to want my horse. And it kind of seems like the game doesn't tell you where to get those things. Oh, if I have to go like 15 hours without my dog, that's going to be so irritating for me. So irritating. Possible the patch can plug in a greater variety of face morphs. Yeah, I'm not making any assumptions regarding these issues that WolfHeart is having. When I do my own playthrough with the day 1 patch, we'll see where the game actually stands. You don't think you'll be able to sleep? I'm going to sleep like a rock, John, because I want to be up bright and early, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and ready to get it rocking and rolling. Some name characters KCD1 had identical faces too. Yep. And you clearly hear voice over reuse a lot. Exactly. Sounds like a placeholder before final release. We'll see.
We stand upon the precipice of change.
Nux the cool fan. What's going on? Appreciate you following me over on Twitch.
Particular face though, and it was bad. Morris did the classic.
Yeah, Reed, I'm sure it does have a guide, but I feel I'm probably not going to look at like early game guides. I'm just going to play the game. I'm just going to go out and play the game. You know, I'm not going to try to game the game. So are you full-time streaming KCD for the next couple of weeks? KCD 2 is the game I'll be focusing on, yes. Obviously, I got a wife, I got a kid, I got a job. So when you say full-time, I mean as much time as I can dedicate to the channel. But yes, KCD 2 is the game I'm going to be going full stream ahead with. I am off Tuesday and Wednesday, and I plan to spend most of the day streaming this game for sure. You only get day one once. Exactly.
Throw a mustache on the face or a different color beard to try to change it up, but it was not good enough in my opinion. And I honestly think that this is such a negative that WolfHearts needs to update a few faces in a future patch. Another negative that happened, I would say a handful of times, and I don't think this is really a bug, I think it's just something that needs a little more time in the oven, is that although NPC reactivity at large is, I would say, phenomenally well done and deep, sometimes it doesn't always make sense. There was this one guy's daughter who died basically because of me, and after we talked about this, which was not a pleasant conversation, he was not happy with me, of course, I walked right back to him and asked him a question, and bam, he was like back to being this normal happy dude who didn't really know who he was talking to. Or it can work the other way around where you talk to someone nicely, you do something great for them, and then 2 minutes later they might respond to something like you are some vagabond that they never met before. It doesn't really...
My streams will be dominated by KCD2, Doctor. For sure. For sure. What's up, Thomas? Yeah, welcome, Czech Republic. Absolutely. Fanatical has KCD2 Gold Edition 472. Huh? Go ahead, Deacon. Be weak. Go ahead and be weak and pick it up. I mean, more is right at the beginning than to watch the guide. You don't have to play a bunch to find either.
Really happened that often, but it did happen enough for me at least to remember that. A quick negative here, although it's like a positive at the same time, there's so much dialogue in this game. I think there's more dialogue than in BG3 in total. And I think that's a huge plus. It's really cool. And also you can skip a lot of the dialogue, or you don't have to engage with a lot of it. So it's not like forced on every single player at all times. Right. Sometimes I felt there was some unnecessary fluff in the dialogue. And as someone who likes to exhaust most of the dialogue options, sometimes I was getting annoyed. I was like, we really didn't need those 2 lines. Not a huge deal, but I did notice this and I wrote this down. A few lines that didn't feel like they really added anything, but just taking.
They were trying to add in them extra lines because they want that Guinness World Record. No cheating. We'll see if they actually get the record. That would actually be kind of cool because it pushed Larian to make their game even more expansive for the next go round. We'll see. Yeah, more dialogue than BG3 is mental for sure. Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3. Supposedly, this game has more words than Baldur's Gate 3. They've already submitted their script to Eclipse to Guinness World Record. So I think they're still in this process of being verified.
Your time. Speaking on combat, even though I already kind of talked about a few of the negatives there, as I said, it's not like a perfect combat system, nor did I expect it to be. But, sometimes changing targets does still feel a little bit janky, although much better than the first game. My biggest complaint here, though, believe it or not, and this is very, very personal to me alone, I felt the combat was too easy. Now, at the start of the game, I did struggle a little bit when I was learning the first, 5-6 hours of the game. But after that, I don't know, there was a point where I felt like no combat encounter was ever going to challenge me, and I consider that a negative. I wish the game launched with hardcore mode. I think that would have solved this potential problem for some players. And I think a lot of experienced KCD1 players are going to find that they don't necessarily feel the challenge that they felt in the first game, which was like a huge point of satisfaction for many of us, getting better at combat. In this game, you get better pretty quick, and then I feel like there's not much of a challenge after that. This could be a huge plus, though, for those of you that found combat, too annoying or difficult in the first game. And I also just want to quickly add that I do like the combat overall, and like I said, it's better than the first game in so many different areas. I actually still enjoy it, even though I'm finding like that I'm like not really challenged by a lot of the opponents that I come across. It's still like a fun system, which at the end of the day is the most important thing. Just it's missing that challenging aspect the further I get into the game. So that's the negative part of it. It's not that the combat isn't fun, because it is fun. There were a few times when I used persuasion checks and dialogue where I thought the excuses that Henry gives to try to get out of something were pretty dumb. It didn't really make sense. Some of them are pretty funny. I thought some of them were dumb, though. I wrote this down as a negative. And I'm going to end the negative section here. We're almost done with the entire video. With two things that I think are controversial. So they're not necessarily negatives to me. The save system and also timed dialogue responses. So starting off with the save system. So in KCD2, there's a few ways that the game can save. There's auto saves, which typically happen when you're doing quests every so often, or when you reach like important points in the quest. There is more auto saves in this game than there was in the first game, which I think is good. You can sleep in a bed that you own or a bed that you're paying for. That will give you a save point. Or if you have savior schnapps in your inventory, you can essentially do what's equivalent to a manual save, although it's limited to the amount of schnapps that you have. I actually like this system, and I get what Warhorse is going for here. You're less likely to save scum, and the moment-to-moment gameplay can be a little bit more intense and meaningful when you can't just hit F5 whenever you want. You're more likely to value your life in the moment-to-moment gameplay. With that said, it doesn't matter how much you feel this is how all players should play. Your opinion is not really grounded in any absolute truths here. This is very, very subjective, and simply put, from what I see, there seems to be a ton of players, a substantial amount of players who do not like not having the ability to save the game whenever they want, or at least being forced to use savior schnapps. When I think about Warhorse offering the option to players to manually save without needing savior schnapps, I really don't think it's that serious of a feature to where if they optionally allowed this, they're sacrificing the core vision of their game, and these players are no longer playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. I don't feel like it's like that at all.
I consider it to be malpractice to provide a game that you know is buggy and then not allow the player to be able to manually save. If you're going to prevent me from manually saving, you need to release your game in as close to spotless a condition as possible. And we know for damn sure KCD1 was nowhere close to that. Nowhere close to that. Now, we don't know where KCD2 is. Once again, he's playing without access to the day one patch that we will have access to. But if I get this game with this day one patch and I end up having a whole bunch of bugs and errors that cause me to reload, I'm absolutely modding that save system out. I'm absolutely modding it out. And definitely not a fan of games that don't allow me to save where I want to. It's not just about being able to ensure I don't lose certain time. I am absolutely the type of gamer who likes to go back and re-experience certain moments in a game, right? And it's nearly impossible to do that if you're forced to only use one save. And so that's another big reason that I really, really don't like this system. Also, I don't know how it's going to work in this game, but in the first game, I was extremely uncomfortable with having two playthroughs running at the same time. Because I'm like, how does this save your snap system work? If I have one playthrough and I save with the save your snap, and then I start up another playthrough and I use a save your snap here, does that wipe out the save your snap here? Like, none of that was ever really clear to me. And so I absolutely prefer that, one, the game allows you to manually save wherever you want. And then two, every time you create a new character, it gives you a completely new category of save slots, right? Where it's completely clear. Here's the save slots for this playthrough. Here's the save slots for this playthrough. And then you can go back and do whatever it is that you want. Like, the system just doesn't work for me. It just doesn't. At least you can refund if something goes horribly wrong. True. Got real lives to live. The else will suck. For the most part, the saves known for breaks. In fact, started introducing fail saves for Iron Man mode, specifically to address bugs and crashes. Exactly. You may have to wait a couple hours post-loss, depending on how hot on the trigger the monitors are, but almost certainly be available within 24 hours. Yeah, I'm expecting the day after. What's up, Longest? How are you, dude? Are we day one modding this bad boy yet again? Nope. Day one, I'm going to just play the regular game. I'm going to play with the savior snaps. I'm not going to add a reticle for the bow. We're just going to go as is. KCD had 3 save slots for 3 entirely different playthroughs. Nice. Okay, so I hope they do the same thing here. It's a single-player game. There's no purpose in limiting choice. Just put checkbox in the options. Exactly. Like, to me, I'm all about you playing hardcore mode. Well, your saves are limited. I'm all about that. Why, if I'm just playing on the regular difficulty, is it like that? They're going to keep in learning other languages. I'm going to play full role-player Henry first with combat at a minimum or when necessary. That's the way that I plan to do it, Cheesy. So I'm hoping so. Life is too busy. Yep, exactly. But I'm an adult gamer with a 50, 60 hour week job. Aren't we all? Exactly. You know, at the end of the day, the devs have a certain way. You know, I'm all about respecting the devs' vision and the way they want to do something, but I'm also of the standpoint, sometimes you got to let people know your way of doing things isn't really working. I would venture to say a large, possibly even the majority of people who play KCD1 modded out the save system. Like, it was like the #1 mod for the entire game.
I think the benefit of offering it optionally would far outweigh any possible negatives here that they think would come from it. And you know what? I actually would support if a player tries to turn this on. Perhaps you have the option at the beginning of the game that maybe like a little pop-up box pops up and there's like a little statement from Warhorse saying,
"What's up, J-Dot? No, the game isn't out yet. We're watching reviews of it. It doesn't come out until tomorrow morning."
They designed the game for Savior Schnapps, so choose this at your own risk or something like that. I don't think it's a hill worth dying on. Not that Warhorse is going to die from this. Of course, they're not going to. But in the name of, you know, allowing some players to not lose as much time because they forgot to engage with the system or didn't engage enough with Alchemy or whatever, I think this should be offered optionally, even with a warning box. I don't know why this is such a serious thing to Warhorse. With that said, PC players, I'm sure there'll probably be a mod that might already be out that allows manual saves. And also, I just want to say that Savior Schnapps feel like they're a little bit easier to come across in this game and find the ingredients and stuff like that. So I think it's still a little bit better than the first game. And the last negative that I'm going to talk about, I haven't really had a problem with this as much myself. I think a lot of players are.
Yeah, I did a full live stream playthrough of the first game, J-Dot. Didn't mind it out, but I did and do put it down for other games for long periods of time before coming back for that sweet, sweet gameplay. One lost sleep away. Yeah, 9 hours.
Going to dislike this though, but I certainly don't like it. And this is timed dialogue. Doesn't happen all the time, and if this is something that you really don't like, I don't think it happens enough to where this should prevent you from wanting to play the game. But when a timed dialogue does occur, you only have like a few seconds to choose your response, and even if you read fast, you're going to be fine reading all the options, but if you look away from your screen, even to take a sip of water or something, and look back, like it's over. You're not going to be able to choose a dialogue response that you want in time, and it's really annoying in my opinion, and I think it's pretty unnecessary. I don't see, if Warhorse really likes this feeling because they want to create a sense of urgency or something, I think this should absolutely be an optional feature. But really, I don't think it even adds enough to the game period for it to even be a thing in this game. I think they should get rid of it. And this is coming from someone who has mostly had no problem with handling these. I'm gonna start wrapping up the video now. I'll do like a quick little conclusion, if I can think of one off the top of my head. Thank you all for listening to me ramble here for 30 plus minutes. Funny thing is, this video actually is going to take me like 30% of the time that a typical video takes me because I didn't really edit things or organize my thoughts and stuff. But hopefully you guys got some value out of this. I wanted to make sure that I dropped something on the 3rd of February, and I've played this game quite a lot, so I think I can at least offer some sort of opinion that you guys might appreciate before you play this game. But in conclusion, after 70 plus hours, I see no reason why the very end of the game won't be absolutely phenomenal. I could be wrong, but man, I have just been having such a great time with this game. It is one of the most immersive games I ever played. I really appreciate that. The exploration is so much fun with this realistic environment that portrays, I think, the Czech Republic really well and just shows the true beauty of our world. The deep RPG systems and mechanics are so good. The world reactivity is some of the best that you've seen probably in the past decade of gaming. Warhorse
wanna
really
hit
went
someone
all
off
out
a
with
ladder
that, and you guys
now?
are going to notice
Me
it
too.
right away after you get out of the prologue of the game. The agency that Warhorse gives you, the player, to handle quests and situations in a way that you want to try to handle them, which includes oftentimes some creative, really fun solutions. You can go kind of wherever you want on your map. You don't have to stick to like going to this town and that town for that quest and then follow that quest. You can go wherever you want, and you'll experience different types of content, which will change the way that you actually play the game, and it's really awesome. If you just skip to the summary, which I'm sure a lot of people did here, make sure to go back and watch my negative list. I'm speaking very high praise of this game, but I did talk about a few negatives that I think most people should listen to in this video. But ultimately, I stand by what I said in the beginning. I really do think that this game will end up on my list of favorite RPGs of all time, and I feel very, very appreciative that Warhorse Studios exists and they are continuing to make games.
Yeah,
kind of like how I feel with Larian
Eurogamer for
Studios.
sure.
Two studios that are not afraid to take risks and make a game that they want to make themselves versus making a game that is trying to appeal to the widest audience
true,
possible. And the
ASMR.
funny thing is, oftentimes
Bohemia.
games that studios make for themselves turn out to be more popular than the games that studios make.
Doctor, thank you so much, man. Appreciate the 500 bits, dude. I will drop in, but I don't want to spoil my playthrough with spoilers. That's the best. Yep, no problem. I completely understand, dude. Take care, man.
Make to try to appeal to everyone, and hopefully that happens with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, at least to a certain extent. I doubt it'll be like Baldur's Gate 3, but I hope it happens to a certain degree, because we want Warhorse around in the future. Thank you all so much for watching. Let's Play episodes out on the channel right now. I'll be live streaming probably almost every single night right here on YouTube and on my Twitch channel at WolfHeartFPS. And I also have a ton of guides that probably are already out and will continue to come out. Catch you all on the next one.
That's awesome. Great job, Wolf. Great job. Great job. Awesome. Okay, so yeah, his guides and stuff don't come out until tomorrow. That was definitely a far cry from the Eurogamer one, and also very different from Fextralife. So I think Wolf did a great job. I had planned to watch Morty and possibly even Luke, but honestly, I think I'm going to cut it here. I think I'm going to cut off the stream here. I think I'm going to get a good night's rest because I want to be fully awake so that we could get into all sorts of shenanigans tomorrow. So I want to thank you all for joining the stream. I really had a good time. I'm very, very excited about finally being able to play this game for myself, and it seems like many of you are as well. So I hope to see you during the live stream tomorrow. We can compare playthroughs, see what you all are doing in comparison to what I'm doing. And by all accounts, it looks like this game is going to be one for the ages. Hope all of you enjoy the stream, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Yep, night Stickman, night Dan, night Jovi. Warhorse, Alcat, and Larian on the new Obsidian, EA, and Bioware. Me too, Bugbear. I'd certainly take that. Yep, my pleasure, Suzanne. All good. Take care. Take care, Eric. Have a good one, Skeleton. Night Sugarwire. Night Deathfish. Take care, Buyer. Night Jovi. Everything Mechanic plays nice board gameplay and technical issues. Yep. Take care, Deacon. Have a good night, Duke. Night, Argo. Always good to see you, man. Hope things will go okay. Night, Seftar. Night, Bugbear. Take care, everyone. Yep, thanks, Rick. Always good to see you, dude. Have a good night.